Hey guys, welcome to episode 232 of 4Player Animecast. We are finally stepping foot into the fall 2023 season's reviews. It is already mid October. A couple of episodes have been out. Again, slightly slower, kind of like a collated release. I know the latest anime series in the season are releasing literally like at the end of October. But we are here now. We've watched, the series that we want to cover for the first set of reviews, and I guess we'll go right ahead. We have quite a season ahead of us, so a season that we all surely enjoy. And as always, I am your host Spire, and with me are my trusty compatriots in Toast.
Did y'all see the eclipse?
I saw the partial eclipse, yeah.
I didn't see anything. It was raining.
Unfortunate. Dark.
Hi.
And of course, Near.
Here,
Hello.
did you see the eclipse?
I did not. I was asleep.
It was also raining for me too, so I can.
Yeah. Anyways, let's get on real quickly with brief descriptions of our past couple of weeks or 2 week, 2 week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, whatever you want to call it. Let's again start with Toast. How
What?
have your past couple of weeks been?
I don't. I don't know what happened in 2 weeks. Uh, Toa's Live was pretty good. Break. What is it called? Break your X's. Did you? Apparently, the X's are supposed to be for you to fill in,
Oh,
saying that
okay.
you're going to change something or something like that. I don't know. Break your fate, I guess. It's for the audience to fill in. But yeah, it was all right. She was super shaky and nervous, but what can you expect from your first live? Also, I can't believe people still think this isn't this live solo lives are pre-recorded. Because if this was pre-recorded, then what had then they wouldn't. They probably would have re-recorded what the incident that happened when she was singing a San Vitalia. Because it was a pretty good let's just say she botched the song pretty hard in a good way, I guess.
Uh-huh.
You had to be there. Basically, she started crying during the song, and she always cries during one of her lives, so kind of expected. But it and apparently the audience was filling in by singing the lyrics when she was crying, so but we couldn't hear it during on the stream, so it better be there during the you better be able to hear the audience during the DVD version. But yeah, pretty good live. You should watch it.
Mhm.
Buy tickets, you still can. Yeah.
Okay, pretty good.
What else?
Uh, yeah. Anything else?
What's
Anime
that
wise,
show called?
the Chinese one that you talked to me about, is
Which
that the
one?
one you're referring to? The the
I don't know what.
fights breaks fear or whatever it
Why are
was.
you talking about Battle Through the Heavens? That's on season
Battle
5.
through the heavens.
It's on
I
season
am.
5, my
That's
dude.
not what I'm talking about,
No,
Toast.
16-bit
No.
sensation's weird.
Okay.
Apparently, it's the same author as The World God Only Knows. Okay, I didn't know
Mhm.
that. Is that
I think we
apparently?
talked about that during the
I
previews,
don't
didn't we?
remember. Do you think I pay attention during those? But yeah, it's an isekai. Hell yeah.
uh,
Also, there's a lot of product placement. It's okay. It's pretty good. What else did I watch? Goblin Slayer is pretty good, I guess.
did you see the Age of Empires stream?
Which one?
The one with Fauna and Crony?
Oh hell yeah, Fauna sweep.
Yeah.
Everyone knew Fauna would sweep. She's Kiara said she got to bronze rank. Don't believe her lies. Everyone knows Fauna is a hardcore. What is it? Was it League? Is she a League player or Dota player? Yeah,
I
she
have
could
no idea.
definitely crush that. But yeah, she crushed them by making elephants. Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't play StarCraft, so I don't know what you're talking about. But I know elephants. But yeah, Fauna Sweep. What else?
Okay.
Goblin Slayer is pretty good. The bitch boy wizard showed up. I don't like him, but he's a pretty decent character.
I think this is the first time that I've heard you describe someone so negatively.
Oh, you want me to hear? You know what else is a bitch boy?
Who?
Richter Belmont.
Uh-huh.
That's yeah. I don't know whose fault it is, but Richter Belmont's a bitch boy in season 1. I don't like it.
Okay.
If you watch Castlevania Nocturne, you know what I mean.
I haven't watched any Castlevania stuff.
He's not as cool as Trevor, even though he's supposed to be even cooler than Trevor because of Rondo of Blood, Symphony of the Night. But no, he's a bitch boy.
Yeah.
Maria's fine
I-
though. Oh, did I talk about Castlevania last time? Did it come up?
No.
I think a little bit. I think
Let's
briefly.
talk about Castlevania. Let's see. Maria's fine. I don't have any problems with her. Annette, have no comments. She's
Yeah.
okay. That one guy, I don't like that one guy. You'll know what I'm talking about. The one guy that appears, and then is somehow important to the plot, even though he's really not. That one filler character. I don't know what the point of he was in there. Olrox is a vampire. I don't know what he was doing there either. It's like he's there to move Richter's plot along, but he didn't really contribute at all. I don't know. Season 1 Nocturnes is a hot mess compared to season 1 of the original Castlevania. Maybe it's because they tried to cram a lot in 5 episodes, and
Probably.
a lot happened. It's like, oh, we have a plan. Guess what? We failed the plan. This happens like 3 times in the series, and it's like, oh, we got
Oh
nothing
wait,
done.
Nocturne's only 5 episodes.
Yeah,
Oh
they crammed
shit!
they crammed a hell of a lot in those 5 episodes.
Damn.
So
Turns out I'm like 1 episode away from being done. Never mind.
yeah, you won't. It's not a satisfying ending.
I'm
It's a
not
definite setup
surprised
for season
considering
2.
like there's like so much that needs to happen to resolve. Like
I mean, Richter's fight scenes are okay, I guess. I guess. I don't know. Trevor did more cool things with the whip. But yeah, it's a hot mess. I hope season 2 is way better and fleshes more stuff out. But am I gonna watch it? Yeah, of course. What else do I got? Yeah, I don't
I
know.
guess. All right. I guess if that's that, thank you, Toast, for your 2 weeks. What about you, Dork?
um I've been watching a lot.
Hold on, Dark.
I've been going through the
Yeah,
gauntlet.
you've been like going through the
Ooh.
history books essentially.
Yeah, I
Dark,
went back
Dark,
and I
peep
was
this
like,
picture. Are those his thighs? Peep this picture I sent you.
Although
What's
we
wrong
say
with his
history
thighs?
books, it's been like it's like I think you're mainly browsing the 2019, 2020, 2021 era kind of ish, right?
yeah. So yeah, I mean, I've burned through like every girl gets a cheat skill isekai at this point. That's like worth watching.
Yeah, you pretty much have.
And I desire more. So I guess potions this season is scratching that itch, but
Yep.
I mean,
That's
really, I'm
why
almost caught up on. What did I watch? I fucking on a whim decided to watch. Fuck, what
80,000.
was? Yeah, yeah.
80,000
I watched
points?
80,000 gold, 80,000 gold, for retirement, and
Uh-huh.
then after that, I think there was something from last season I watched too that was like oddly like. Oh no, that's what it was. Yeah, because I was like kind of in the mood for like a cheat skill isekai thing because I burned through all of Vending Machine, and I was like,
Yes.
wow, Vending Machine is quite good. And so then
Yeah.
I was like, you know what? I never finished 80,000 coins, and I quite liked that first episode. So
And then after
there,
80,000 coins, you went to Bofuri, right? I
yeah,
think.
after
Is that was
80,000
that
coins, no, after 80,000 coins, I went to fucking Kuma Kuma
Kuma
Kuma
Kuma Kuma?
Bear.
Yes, 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 yes,
And
sir.
now I'm on Bofuri season 2 because I finished,
It's
or
actually
rather, I finished season 1 and then I went on to season 2.
yeah, it's actually pretty interesting that I think their light novel publications, like their original source material publications, were a little bit apart, but the anime adaptations of both Kuma 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 Bear as well as Bofuri appeared in pretty much the same year. Yeah, they did appear in the same
Yep, it
year,
was both the
like
same
one or two.
years, and I think like one season apart or something.
Yeah, one season apart or so. And they kind of really did help spearhead that era of like really starting up more of these uh girl in VRMMO, girl in, isekai kind of stuff, just doing this sort of stuff. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
it's definitely interesting, both series.
They've been very enjoyable. I think we're probably one of the benefits, and it's one of the reasons why I liked Vending Machine a lot, is because you're getting like the isekai and the trivia style stuff without the baggage of like needing like the harem essentially. So you could just have like just a supporting cast instead.
Mhm.
So that's been quite nice. Hope to see more of all of those series really. Hopefully not 3 years apart from each season. That would be cool. And yeah, then I pretty much started everything from this season that's like worth watching or that we were even thinking of checking out.
Mhm.
Yeah, and then I think from there I still got a plans of doing what do you call it? Going through God, what was it from a few seasons ago? I never watched it. The Traveling Witch. I
Majin
know
no
Majin no
watched
Tabi.
Tabi
that.
Tabi.
Yeah, I've not watched Majin
Yes,
no Tabi Tabi yet, but that's
Majin no
going
Tabi is
to
pretty
be
good.
the next thing I start.
Why don't you
And
watch
then
the
yeah.
Are you
motorcycle
gonna
one?
go on all the like the journey kind of stuff, like series now? Like
Yeah, I mean, I'll
Natsumi
hit up
Yujincho,
that.
you're
Oh
just
yeah,
gonna
well
do all that?
technically,
Yeah.
well yeah, I mean, I need to after that. Then I was like, well,
You
then
should
after
watch the
that, then it's
not
time
shit
to.
Kino's journey.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Kino no Tabi.
I should finish that. I
Which
watched like 2
Kino
episodes
no
of
sure.
that.
Tabi, hell yeah.
And
What are
then
you
I was
talking
like,
about? The remake was perfect.
the remake was there.
It's an anime series that exists.
It exists. I mean, I feel like yeah, like I don't know. I watched 2 episodes of the original, and then I just kind of like I forgot what sidetracked me, and then I just need to get back to it. But yeah, I mean, I need to also do Mahotsukai no Yome. Again, finish. I think the movie, right? And then I got to do season
Yeah.
2. So yeah.
I think yeah, I think that would be nice. It would be I think it'll be Majin no Tabi Tabi and Natsumi Yujincho and Kino no Tabi. I think will be pretty good for you because especially since you do like slower paced series anyways, right? So going kind of back and checking all these out, and all of these are pretty good. So and
Yeah,
at
I mean,
least that's
what got me in
yeah.
the mood for that too was watching Free Run this season, which I'm
Yes, free
not caught
run.
up on, but like, you know, there were 4 episodes that I
Yeah.
watched like 3.
Ray Ren wasn't that bad.
No.
What?
No, it's actually kind of fucking awesome.
Yeah. Minus the weird Yosobi opening, but I mean Yosobi.
Dude, oh
has
yeah,
that
well, listen,
fun.
we'll get to that when we cover it, but yeah, no,
Yeah,
that
yeah,
opening
exactly.
is fucking
Yeah.
ass. Like, just spoiler alert, that opening's
Song-
fucking terrible.
Song's
No,
good
the
though.
song is
I
good.
mean,
The song is good.
The song is
song is
The
phenomenal.
song is. The
It's just a
song
very
is
strange opening.
semi
Hey, man.
almost unrelated, and then like maybe one cut of the visuals is like related during like
Hey man,
a a fucking every
It's
what'd you
like
call it,
having
orchestral rise in the track.
it's like having Barakamon or like Horimiya, and then the opening is just like a metal track, like like you're like
Yeah,
Hey,
it's
"Eh,
like,
I don't
what?
know.
Hey, man.
Like,
hey man, not everything can be idol version 2.
All right, but I'm gonna be honest with you. I also didn't like the opening visuals for fucking
Oshiekomu?
Oshiekomu. So Sume.
Uh,
I mean,
Yeah, I'm not a
everyone
fan
everyone
of when
knows.
faces start fading in. Okay, I'm not a
I
fan.
think
Everyone
I
of
think
knows.
that.
this is I think
I
this
think it
is
looks like General
the
Hospital.
See,
Okay.
you know what? You know what, Spire? This is my point exactly. Everyone knows the real version, not the anime opening version. Everyone knows that version is
yeah.
superior. You didn't
I
believe me? Well, look at you now.
That's also not an opening.
Yeah, the MV.
Yeah.
The MV is the
Yeah.
real anime
Yeah, I
opening.
mean, I'm
It's not
sure the
not an
music
opening.
video for the fucking for the Freerun opening is also going to be really good and actually have visuals and not be blank white space for 90%
Let's
of it.
check
But
it
yeah,
out. Let's check it out right now. Is it on their YouTube?
No, if
I
it's
don't even
out.
know if it's out yet. I don't even think the full
Oh, it
song
is.
is
Yeah,
out
it's right
yet.
here.
Oh, okay. Well, anyway,
Well, I
I'll
see
be
Freerun
checking
on
that
it.
You
out
Yeah.
should
later.
you should also I'm also still waiting for Dark to start actually playing some of the visual game or visual novels that we've suggested over the
That
years, to be
like
honest.
is
Is this
reading.
not?
You know that's not going to happen.
Seeing words on the screen? Like what the
Words
fuck?
on the screen, visual novels, and it's not even porn? No, no, thank
Jesus.
you.
Is this not the anime openings, Dark?
But yeah, I'm trying to think of what else. There was a bunch of other stuff. Oh, I mean, I'm probably gonna watch the fucking Love Live Sunshine Isekai thing too, like at some point.
Oh yeah. Johanna
Are you
the
gonna
pretty
wa-
Yeah, yeah,
Are you
yeah.
gonna
Paranoid.
watch
Yes.
Precure 23? It's out.
Yeah, but shouldn't I watch the first precure of that at some point?
I
Probably.
don't know. I don't know, Dark. You want to be a lolicon or
Like,
do
wasn't
you
that
like real
5?
women?
I mean, they were from like part 5, or like season 5, right, or whatever.
Yeah, but now they're
Yeah, I've never seen
yeah,
that
Dark.
though, so I feel
You
like
want
I'm missing pretty
Dark? Now they're
important
23,
context
so it's
there.
okay. It's okay to watch Precure now. They're 23.
Yeah, well,
I don't think
yeah,
that's exactly
I was
how that
watching
works.
Precure before it was okay.
But
Um,
yeah.
Is that's the loophole, right?
No?
What? No.
Like if you're
that's
saying
that's the loophole for you to
What?
be like, listen,
I
can
don't think
watch
that's a
Precure.
loophole.
I can watch Precure because of Precure 23, so now I can go back and watch the other
Yeah.
no,
ones. That's the
The
fucking
loophole is I watched Sailor Moon when I was a wee lad, so it's okay for me to watch Sailor Moon Crystal in the year 2023.
I mean, I
I'm
didn't
gonna be
watch.
honest.
I watched the new card captain.
I think if anybody is out here being like, no, bro, you can't watch Sailor Moon, like,
They're weird. They're kind of like.
yeah, you are very strange. I think somebody like that is probably somebody that uses woke unironically in the current year. Like,
Sailor Moon is woke.
it's
Yeah.
true.
It's just all woke stuff. But yeah, anyways, anything else?
You can't say woke anymore, guys. That's a
Um,
slur. Apologize, please.
Probably
Against who?
Yeah, the woke
Anyways, Dark.
moralists.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
No, I don't think I really. Oh well, I mean, I binge. I binge. Well, I didn't binge. I watched. I skimmed Fully Cooley Grunge and then watched Shoegaze just to get moral
Okay,
support
okay.
from here. So there's that.
Nice.
I had
Nice.
and then I had Goofy Boss as a palate cleanser. So, you know.
At least still better than political Shoegaze.
I mean, listen, everything this season is a fucking 10 out of 10. Well, first of all, Shoegaze is, we'll get to that.
Can we?
But you know.
Also, can we? I just want to talk real quick about this before. I mean, so obviously, Dark is wrapping up his 2 weeks, but I also want to talk about how so before or like I guess throughout the season or when we're doing reviews, but ideally before the season really kind of starts wrapping up, um, we in DMs we create a list of how we're going to split covering the season because obviously we don't want to be conflicting and then 4 podcasts into a review season we have two people want to cover the same thing or one person's run out of stuff or whatever it is, so we try to split it up as much as possible to satisfy everybody. However, as might be evident during our preview episode, Nier has not had a very good set of dice.
Yeah, don't worry.
Dice rolls this
Literally,
season.
no one
So
is trying to steal Niers. No one, no
yeah.
one's coverage
Everybody
is
wants
going
Nier
to
series.
match up
But
with what fucking was put on Nier this
yeah.
season.
So Nier needed
Nier.
one more series. Nier needed one more series to really kind of so we can like smooth over the split that we had. And I was like, hey, do you want the free run? And he's like, well, I don't know, but it's like the only good thing. I'm like, if you don't want free run, do you want this other thing? Do you want like Raw Konohashi? Do you want like Paradox Live? Do you want Firefighter Day? And he's just like, these are all fucking shitty series. Why are you recommending this to me? And then I'm
You
just like,
also
hey,
you also recommended 100 Girlfriends. What's up with that?
yeah. I just recommend. I
Spire
literally just went down the
like,
entire anime list. Yeah, I just.
the way
I
would
think I
describe it
recommended
is
the.
you pulled like the parent like buying something at like a flea market
Yeah.
and being like, well, you like anime, right? Like, here's
Yeah.
you like anime, right? And then like you come home,
It's
you
like
come
with a
back
stick,
fucking,
like.
yeah,
They
with
come up with
fucking
anim-
100
with what, the
girlfriends, like
Animatrix?
BD.
Yeah.
Like,
You ever got
you
an
like anime?
Animatrix t-shirt in here instead of anime? Hell yeah.
I was just like, hey, if I'm just going down this list right now. If you don't want to take these, then you might as well take free rent. So essentially,
I think my main
although
issue was that I didn't want to take anything on my list. Like
yeah,
I was it was less about whether I took
free rent was
free
okay
rent.
though. Free rent, yeah.
It was
Free rent
whether
was
it was
okay.
less about whether I took free rent or not, and more about the
Yeah.
fact that I have to cover everything else on that list.
Yeah, the other shit. Nier is like you know how I sometimes talk about I took a bullet, or like Dark sometimes talks about like I took a bullet for the team or something like that by taking like one of these like shitty series that have like a bigger name that we have to cover. It's like Nier is Nier is taking so many bullets. He's in front of a firing squad right
Nier
now.
is taking
Yeah, I'm
Like,
taking
so
there are
many
12
bullets.
I'm
guns.
He's
taking
taking
two. I'm
two
taking two
tonight.
in this episode. Like
Yeah.
Near, if it hurts
It's
this much,
okay.
I'll take free rent.
Yeah, listen,
no, that's okay.
hey man,
That's
I know you got a
alright.
lot on your plate.
I'll just take, if you don't want this load, I just say.
Yeah, Toast is like looking at Nier's plate of like spoiled food, and then there's like a Twinkie
Plus, like, a
on
cherry,
the
yeah.
side.
Yeah, exactly.
And he's like,
Hell
"Hey man,
yeah.
are you gonna eat that?"
But yeah, it was pretty funny because it was just like, yeah, you'll take free rent plus like I think Apothecary Diaries is okay, but it's like
I mean,
maybe.
yeah,
you're
this-
getting
Well,
you got
we'll
Undead
see.
Unluck. I think that's been
Yeah,
pretty
Nier,
well received.
don't
Yeah, I
you-
mean,
don't you-
Undead Unluck and Free Ren are kind of like the only series that I'm actually like keen on this entire
What about
season.
what about the Yokotaro series, bro? This is by
Wow.
Yokotaro.
You love
You literally made
Yokotaro.
it.
What the fuck?
I think
Here-
I think Godap might be unironically like I actually I
Oh, yeah,
know I know for a fact that that show is just straight up uglier than fucking Fully Cooley Grunge is. Like
Is it
Which
worse
is
than
a-
Protocol Rain game? Do you think?
Oh, absolutely. Oh, worse than the
Yeah.
Protocol Rain game?
Yeah.
no.
Nah.
I like how it's like a race to the bottom at this point. You're like, huh, which one is more uglier?
No, like the
I don't know.
Protocol Rain game is like worse than fucking X Arms, like
Yeah,
visually.
for sure. But yeah, I just wanted to mention how Nier was always like forced at gunpoint to take free rent, just like, and then be like, yeah, by the way, you also have other like all this shit you need to clear.
Here, have you
It's
heard the
okay.
news?
With some of these, I'm gonna be shooting myself in solidarity. Okay, I'm gonna be taking these shots for some of these just to see.
Here, I heard Undead Unluck is the second coming of Trigger. Can you confirm?
I haven't watched the first episode yet. I've seen some cuts. It looks really nice. But it's David production, isn't it? So like
Yeah,
Oh,
wait, what are you
true.
talking about? What are you talking about? Trigger? What?
But yeah. Wait. So, anyways, I guess I'll just finish off my 2 weeks real quick. I just didn't have too much. I was mainly watching like VTubers. I watched.
Oh yeah,
Free
name
Rent.
3 VTubers.
Name
Tell us about the
3
song you liked, Spire. Tell us about the song you like.
Tell us about your
The
favorite song.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know whether it's my favorite. I don't know whether it's my favorite song, but a certain song has been becoming too popular for its own good in the Korean and Japanese circles. A song by VTuber Shiguru Ui, an illustrator as well, called it's
I like how you
Shoegaze.
said VTuber before Illustrator, even though she calls herself
I
Illustrator
mean,
Figure
at
Ui.
this point, like this is like her main gig. Let's be very real here. Uh, once you have million plus and you're raking in the money, that's your main gig. But it's I think the full name is Shukse Lolikami Requiem. I think that is the real name, right? But yeah, it's as you might think of, when you see the title, it's a song about lollies and stuff, or like shooing away lolicons, I think is the actual premise of the song. And yeah, it's gotten very popular mainly due to the quality of its animation. And unfortunately, the lyrics of the song aren't exactly pretty, so it's gotten way too big for its own good. And yeah, that's been a little bit weird. But other than that, it's been pretty quiet. Again, VTuber is watching a little bit of free run and obviously watching some of the series that I have to cover. And that's been pretty much about it. Near, what about you? 2 weeks?
I haven't been up to too much. I've been slowly playing Divinity Original Sin 2 with one of my friends. We're doing like
Okay.
a co-op camp. And we're currently at the end of the game right now. Like we're literally in the final battle. And so we get to the final battle, right? And the final battle is just absolutely dog shit. It is horrible. It opens up, so it starts with your entire party is like condensed into this like tiny boxed in area. And before any of you even get to act, like it's a turn-based game, right? So before any of your party members even get to do anything, you basically just get obliterated, right? So you pretty much have to like hope, like just complete RNG that you don't get completely fucked. And then from there on forward, it becomes like this weird, like there's this one character where if they get low HP, it like phase transitions, right? And then after the phase transition, it's supposed to be this thing where like all the other remaining enemies that were like there are supposed to sort of fight this like true final boss, right? And it's supposed to be like this big battle. But the issue is they don't do that, right? So the true final boss comes in, and then all of the other enemies that are still on the field just continue attacking your party. So it just gets worse. Like it just gets objectively worse. So like we were looking up like strategies and shit, and it's basically like, yeah, you pretty much just have to abuse the fuck out of every item in the game, and pretty much have like an infinite turn, in order to have like any hopes of actually beating this fight. It's like, wow, that's cool. That's good game design. It's really good. So a bit unfortunate.
Yeah.
But hopefully we can wrap that up soon. We're planning on tackling Baldur's Gate 3 after that. So hopefully
So,
that's better.
how's Shadowverse, Near?
I mean, I can speak for the first 3 acts, and it is.
Yeah. Shadowverse, I mean, I haven't really been playing Shadowverse. The new expansion came out. Kind of been like, watching sort of the YouTubers and streamers that I'm sub to play, but I haven't been playing myself. I hear it's kind of fucking not great though, so I'm not really missing out.
Yeah.
Shadowverse also did probably one of the scummiest things that Cygames has ever done. So Shadowverse recently, I don't even know if it's still going or not, but they got a Spy Family crossover, right?
Yeah.
And they have You know how. So you
So
know how the
is your
Shadowverse.
swordcraft?
Your is Bloodcraft.
What?
Yeah.
That's not. Oh, no,
She's an assassin.
Lloyd is Swordcraft.
Okay, okay, yeah.
And then Anya is Rune, I think.
Yeah, okay.
yeah.
What
and then-
what about Bond?
The dog is Forest.
Oh hell yeah.
Nice.
Right.
See? Okay, that's I'll
Yeah.
I'll take that.
So there's 4 leaders, right? And typically, Shadowverse, when it releases a collab,
Yes.
like leader collabs, you buy them, right? Like you typically you buy the in-game currency, you buy the
Yeah.
leaders.
Yeah.
They've decided to change it up. So
Is it gotcha? Is it gotcha?
not too long ago, Shadowverse introduced limited gotchas, right?
Oh baby.
and
It's
way
banner
these-
time, baby.
Yeah, the way these work is you have about a month, right? And there's
Okay.
so historically there has been 1 to 2 leaders in these limited gotchas, right? I don't know
Okay.
if the leader rate is boosted or not. So far, all of the limited gotchas that have had leaders that I want in them, I've gotten them pretty quickly. The Miku leader was one of them. They also did some like limited, like New Year's Yukata one. However, they have been limited to 1 to 2 leaders, right? For the Spy Family crossover, all 4 leaders are in the same gacha.
Good.
And you don't get to pick, you don't get to pick like, oh well I want your, so I want like, I want to pull from like the your rated up one. No, there's only one.
What's
and
the
Wait, you
rates?
can get duplicate leaders, right? or
Yes,
whatever?
correct. Yep.
What happens with duplicate leaders?
You just get the card. You just get another card.
What the?
Yeah. You don't get
No.
anything for a duplicate leader.
What are the
So,
rates?
I don't know. They're pretty low. They're quite low. So yeah, I haven't really looked into like the community feedback to with like them doing that, but I would
The
hope
issue is it's
it's
like
negative because it's fucking disgusting. Like,
the
because
issue is it's like in if you look at games in general, right? It's like technically this is just coming home to roost, right? It's like, oh yeah, of course they did gotchas for all their other shit. This is gotcha, right? Including
yeah,
the cards, obviously, but obviously the leaders now. But part of why Shadowverse before, had such a reputation of being play and stuff like that, in addition to all the free card packs, whatever, was because being more friendly in terms of access, right? Was because you could get these leaders for cheaper and direct access instead of just being like, okay, well, I just got a fucking gotcha for all day.
yeah,
And that was, people don't talk about it as much, but I think directly buying those packs, directly getting those is much easier. But now it's just like, um, when the limited gotchas came on with, again, the leaders, and shiny leaders and stuff like that, and now it's all of them, and you have to continually just roll for them.
yeah. Like if you only want Anya or Yor or something, like
Mhm.
you either have to pray, right? You just completely pray, or you have to spark,
The
right?
dog, what? You just get the dog like 4 times.
Yeah,
Oh
like
hell yeah,
that's
dude.
entirely possible. Like you just get the dog over and over again. Which is just like fucked, right?
Mhm.
But yeah, that's been Shadowverse recently. Yeah, other than that, I mean, my weeks have been pretty chill.
Yeah. All right. Well, then, thank you very much, Nier, for your past 2 weeks. And let's get on to the first series real quick. We are going to start off with Dark. What do you have for us?
I have.
Do you want me to read it, Rhoda?
Yeah, you can read the Japanese.
Yeah.
I mean, I was just gonna say it's
It's-
Ikenai Kyo.
Yeah, Ikenai Kyo. Konyaku Haki Sareta Reijouを拾った俺がいけないことを押し込む also known as I'm giving the disgraced noble lady I rescued a crash course in naughtiness. The abbreviation, as Dark just stated, is Ikenai Kyo. Sorry, is this a manga original, Dark?
I believe it is.
Light novel, sorry. It's a light novel.
Oh, okay. This one was. Oh, all right. I was thinking of something else.
Mhm.
Yeah. So this is a comedy, fantasy, and like light-ish like romance series. And so I'll just read the mall synopsis first. But it's Alan is a misanthropic wizard who lives deep within the forest. He is known as the Demon Lord and feared by those around him. One day, while living his life as a hermit, he comes across a young, which is not really like a hermit. I mean, but either way, he comes across a young girl named Charlotte who collapsed in the forest. Despite being innocent, she was accused of evil deeds, had her engagement annulled, and was forced to flee her country. When he heard that, Alan remembered the agony of being betrayed by a group he once thought was his companions. After hearing the story of the 17-year-old's exploitation, Alan decides, I'll let her live in my mansion and I'll teach her all sorts of bad things. So yeah.
Now it's up
the
to your
main
imagination to
character-
wonder what the bad things are.
Yeah, so the main character Alan basically was part of an adventuring party allegedly, and they wound up betraying him and like leaving him for dead. And he just kind of became like a amazing sorcerer after that, but doesn't like living around people. So like kids and stuff think that he's like the demon lord. Because he's a really powerful sorcerer. Who like lives by himself. And then like yells at people as they come by, or just has like a scary face and demeanor. But yeah, so Charlotte has the sort of like stereotypical thing happen in these sorts of series where like her noble prince like fiance wanted like obviously like, must have wanted to break off their engagement or something, and in order to do that he just like falsely accused her of a bunch of shit and then like imprisoned her. And then she escaped and wound up with like in the forest by Alan. So the basic premise winds up being him realizing that she was living life in a sort of like Cinderella type circumstances, you know, where she was essentially a servant, even though she was supposed to be nobility, and mistreated by everyone around her. You know, she was given to do all the chores. And so Alan then takes it upon himself to essentially just spoil her. The first episode was basically, or just try and, well, do a couple things. So the first episode was basically spoiling her and being like, you know, just buying the most expensive like sweets that he could. And saying, you know, like that was dinner. And she is adamantly against it being, you know, the shtick of, well, that's not really a balanced meal. Like, you know, you can't just eat cake for dinner. And so there's certain like cute scenes like that. And then the second episode was him like trying to get her to, in a roundabout way that I won't spoil, like realize that while she's there, she is like free to speak her mind. She's free to like voice when she's angry.
Actually, essentially the bad, quote unquote, bad and naughty things.
Yeah,
in
they're
this
all
series are
like
basically,
very
hedonistic,
lighthearted.
Yeah, lighthearted.
Yeah.
Lighthearted hedonistic.
Yeah, it's either hedonistic or like what would you call it? Just like general
Chill out kind of.
yeah, and like spoiling her in a way that where it's like, you know, these were things she wouldn't have experienced while being held in such like awful conditions at her old at her house, you know.
That's the classic.
Yeah, and it's essentially revealed in, I want to say like episode 1 or 2, like very basic plot point. You know, Alan's ultimate goal was to get her to, you know, realize that she would rightfully feel resentment towards, like her fiance or something. And like he goes through a scenario in his head like, oh well, this was the plan, like get her to like accept this resentment. Then I infiltrate the castle and find all the evidence that she has no wrongdoings, and then we expose the prince and he gets arrested or something, and then happily ever after. Like that was his like head scenario. So he is a more like, though his look is like so awfully edgy, his intentions are like entirely pure. To the point where both of them are oblivious to their sort of romantic situation, or like the like romantic undertones that might come up. And of course there's like the supporting characters that notice it while they don't. And yeah, like it kind of is established that at least right now, like they are so oblivious to that they do not see each other as like this situation as romance like whatsoever. And trying to think of what else beyond that. I guess that's really all there is to say about the story so far. It's pretty cozy. But I think the main highlight of this series is going to be the fact that, Charlotte is voiced by Hayami Saori, and Alan is voiced by Tomokazu Sugita. So like,
yeah,
that's kind of like the highlight, like them them bouncing off of each other, and their voice work like is so complimentary. Where Hayami Saori is very like very light, very whispery, almost like very windy in her voice, very like falsetto. And then Sugita is just doing his natural voice. Like he is not doing what you would expect him to do for a character that looks like this.
Can I ask you, because even when he was young, pretty much I would say, like, how there's obviously, this is very obvious, certain voices, Tom voice are suited to certain characters, right? Like Kugimi Rie is either usually suited to like very kind of kudere kind of stuff if she has to do a more of an adult voice, or it's like the usual tsundere stuff, little animal kind of, right? With Sugita, even when he was young, he did a kind of more adult, like high schooler voice, like the mature guy and glasses guy, nerd kind of, that sort of like stern-ish kind of voice, right? So this is obviously not helped as he's gotten older, right? He can't really voice, let's go get him kind of thing, like how
I feel like
does,
so.
You think this fit?
I think he could. Like the thing is, I think he could, because there are moments during this series where some of his talk, like some of his speaking, completely drops the sort of raspiness in his voice, and you could see him voicing this character without any of that, without any of his like natural, like normal, like raspiness, and a much lighter tone, and he would sound much more akin to what you would think this character would sound like. But instead, he's opting way more for his like throatier, like deeper voice, more what I would assume is like his natural speaking voice, because that sounded like roughly what he sounds like when he's in interviews. Or
does it fit the character design, do you think?
It definitely contrasts the character design, but in some ways I feel like it fits the series more, right? In the sense of like too neuter. Yeah, it kind of neuters, to me, it sort of like subdues a little bit of the romance vibes you would normally think are in a series like this, with him doing such a like, or using such a raspier voice, and like that contrasting with the character design to that extent, to me is more like the character. I feel like their interactions feel more so of him as a like mentor rather than a love interest of any kind, right? I'm sure like there will be moments of that, and that could definitely work, but I feel like it kind of like I feel like that juxtaposition really like works with what this series is doing. I mean, I especially think it works with the sort of like how we talked about with the synopsis of it being the naughty things, right? Or whatever. Like he's going to teach her like, oh, like this is our naughty thing for today. And I was like, what is it? It's eating cake before dinner, right? Like,
yeah. It's like he does such a good job with these sorts of roles. He also did the same thing in Bokura SS. It's like it's just I know the visual comes from the original light novel. I just wish it was like there. You know what I mean? It was a little bit more there.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of don't really hate it anymore after hearing him do this. But I think, yeah, I think design wise, if I had to change anything, like if I had minor changes that I could make to the character, like super minor changes, I would probably make him more either like more taller presenting, slightly bigger, or like harder facial features, like even more intense like eyes or something.
Yeah, exactly.
But I do think that the edgy feel, the red eyes, when he has his hood up and stuff in scenes when like, there's a scene where kids roaming around the forest doing a what do you call it, like a test of courage or whatever, and they're like, oh, I hear like the demon lord lives here, and he casts like such intense magic on people that they don't even remember like where this is or like when they get here and like how they got back. And this scene essentially resolves with him like with his hood up at night, just carrying a lantern underlit, looking at them and being like, like are you guys okay? Like it's really late right now and you're in a forest.
Right.
And then it scares them off just because of how he looks. So I think like that, conveying that a little bit more probably would have been better, but I think overall what they were going for, I don't really hate. Especially but it
since
is
the interaction
sold...
with Hayami Sari works.
Yeah, it is, like I said, it definitely sells it between Sugita and Hayami Sari. Like the contrast between their voices, the contrast between their characters, and like the
They also
juxtapositions
act
there
this out
are
at
really
times
working.
in like on like podcasts, radio kind of stuff as well, where they're just like Sugita is kind of trying to be like the kind of obvious like pervert, like skibit kind of stuff.
Yeah, he's supposed to be
Personality.
like
Just
yeah,
like
he's like greaseball.
yeah, exactly. And Harry Sorry is like, no, get off me, kind of stuff. Like, no, we're not doing that. So like that's an actual. This is like an actual kind of almost comedy duo that's been happening and for the better part of, I want to say, a decade plus. And obviously is personified almost in this anime. So
Yeah. It's the first two episodes I would say have been very, very fun. The expanded cast so far is just, I mean, even the expanded cast, we have insanely like big hitters, right?
yeah,
We have like the first character introduced was forget how you say her name. I think it is just Mika in the show essentially, but it's, or like Miyaka. But she's
Miyaha?
yeah, oh yeah, there you go, Miyaha. She's a she's like a cat girl like delivery service character. But yeah, that's Ozura Naomi. So like yeah, so it's like, and then if you go down this list, like Midorikawa Hikaru, he's not in the show yet, but his character is going to show
Mhm.
up. Like,
Yeah.
it's just
Maeda
such
Kaori, Lin, a lot of stuff. Yeah.
yeah, Lynn. It's just such an insane cast, voice wise, that it's definitely going to be very fun to hear them bounce off of
Mhm.
each other in this. And I
Yeah.
do think that is the highlight. This is definitely going to be one of those series where, I mean, granted, it's a light novel, and like, who likes reading anyway? Like, that's stupid. Like, even more reading than a fucking manga? Like, no, ew,
Mhm.
yucky. But what was I gonna say? This is one of those series where like this is definitely adding a ridiculous amount of content here by being an anime.
Yeah, yeah.
Right? It's one of
Yeah.
those. It's definitely one of those things where we talk about. I mean, it's not. It's not obviously to the same level as Bocchi the Rock was. Of
Mhm.
this is what an anime adaptation like is like. What he like the sort of like pinnacle of what you want an anime adaptation to be. But this
Mhm.
is such a strong, um, I think, showcase of
Fast.
like, yeah, and but this is like such a strong showcase of an anime adaptation where it's like the light novel, I'm sure it's fun, right? Like the
Mhm.
premise is fun, it's cute. I'm sure it's enjoyable. But like experiencing this, I'm just like, yeah, is there like really a reason to read it? Like, is there a
Yeah.
reason to read the light novel? And like that's how I feel with Bocchi the Rock, where it's just like,
Also
is
with
there a
I think
reason for me to
this
read the
series
manga?
too. Yeah. I think with this series too, as you said, obviously, the CEO carrying it, but even like on top of that, or like underneath that as well, the general like composition, the script writing, the direction being run by Asami Takashi as well as Uchida Hiroki, both of who are like they have experience, but they're still a little bit, I want to say, green behind the ears a little bit. So they're more or less, I'm assuming, running it as a pretty straight adaptation of the light novel. With plus or minus maybe like smaller truncations, but usually you don't do truncations that much in this modern era. So it's gonna be pretty much a straight adaptation. So
Yeah.
that being said, the straight adaptation is them being bolstered by these sorts of Seiyu interactions and likely ad libs on the side. So I think it's definitely, as you said, a product that showcased those strengths.
Yeah, absolutely. And then I mean like also not to diminish anyone else on this either. Like the audio
Hmm.
visuals are quite nice.
Hmm.
They are, I mean, it's not like, I don't know how to say this. Like the series itself does not lend itself essentially to be um this thing that's going to like blow you away visually because of like what's happening in the series, obviously.
Hmm.
But there are some nice
Hmm.
cuts. There are some really nice animations. I think the colors have been great. I think the sort of the cleanliness of the animation has been really good. Nothing
Hmm.
has really seemed super like muddy, which you can still get in like these sorts of series. Even the most like
Yeah.
tame slice of life series, you can have them cutting corners for certain animations or like cutting corners for certain background elements or something like that. But everything has been pretty good looking in this. And as far as pacing
Yeah.
goes, obviously, straight adaptation or not, the pacing of the scenes has been very good. It's very snappy, but not like too fast. So that it still feels it definitely feels very slice of life comedy. Um and not um I would compare its pacing to something maybe a little bit faster, a little bit more comedy loaded than something like a Doga Kobo series or like Saint
Yeah.
Cecilia from a recent season. What was that?
And
It
I
was
think
like
and I think both of the
the
studios also have both in digital network animation and more so in Zero G, which Zero G is a very
oh
long
I mean
time
yeah
studio
and zero
with their
yeah
works. But
zero
yeah,
G
they've done.
really popped off, I was gonna mention with, I think, like, Sugimomo was fine for being like an ecchi series. It was still good, like, animation wise, but I think they really popped off with Grand Blue, with their sort of
Yeah.
like comedic
Absolutely.
animation chops. With that, so if you have seen anything from the Grand Blue anime, and you enjoyed that, I think this is definitely something you would probably also enjoy, especially if you liked the visual humor that they were doing there.
Right.
And yeah, I don't think there's any complaint. Like, opening and ED are very nice, very cozy, very fitting. And yeah, just everything about it. I don't know. It's a very, very pretty series.
All right. I guess we have to talk about what mouse score would you give it, just to round it off.
Well, Mal itself has it at a 7.1. But I would say this would probably be a real 7.5 to an 8. Like,
Okay.
I feel like it's very much like solid enough, especially for what it is. Also, keep in mind, I very much rate series for the most part in isolation, if that makes sense. I rate them for themselves. In some,
I mean,
in some
like, compared to
weird
what they
sense,
can
right?
do, like what they should be able to do, right?
Yeah, like, it's not, well,
Yeah.
I guess, like, I do and I don't, right? Like, I am tougher
Well,
in the sense
what I'm
of,
saying is that it's like you're not expecting this series to like kind of flesh out in the same way as like a Beastars would be able to. Something. It's not, or like
yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna
it's
like,
like
I'm not
Kosuke
gonna
no
hit
Kuni.
this
That's not how
thing.
that works.
Yeah, like, it's not like this is like surprising me, like, right? Like, if this had oh my god, why can't I think of it? Whatever, I'll just say the name in English. If this had like Land of the Lustrous, like, if this was Studio Orange, like, coming out with that and like wowing me like that visually, I was like, this would be something I would give a 10. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it's not doing that. So I'm like, 7.5 to an 8. Like, it's pretty much
Right.
perfect for what it wants to do so far. And like, it's exceptional with its voice cast. But it's not doing anything like,
it's not going above and beyond.
Yeah, it's not gonna like shock you. You know what I mean? It's not gonna blow your mind. Like, even something recently, like Bocchi the Rock, like, really kind of blew me away with like what they did with that series.
Right.
But it's like, if Bocchi the Rock like didn't feature its visual, like the visuals that it pulled, and the like songs weren't either as good, or like, so, like, if Bocchi the Rock was like, a little bit less, then like that would be something that I would be like, oh yeah, that's like, a fucking 8 or something. But to me, like, that's like a 10 out of 10, because not only did it meet expectations of being like a solid series, it did a bunch of shit that you would not expect. So, but yeah, I think overall this is a really solid series. This is definitely good. If you're looking for like something that's like a really soft, like, not really like romance, and like not really like doing even the romance stuff of like rom-com, like misunderstanding stuff, and this is more so of like a romance adjacent series that you'd like comedy of, and you're someone who is a normal person and enjoys hearing Sugita and Hayami Tari like speak.
Yeah, that's the crux. That has to be that, like,
this is
comedy,
like,
that comedic duo has to be the crux.
yeah,
Like,
it's
of your value.
like this duo is fucking amazing. So it's like, definitely check it out if you like any sort of comedy series, realistically. That is based on like a comedy duo with like a romance tinge to it, obviously.
Yeah. The back and forth is definitely the crux. But yeah, thank you very much, Dark. Again, if you do like the sound of what Dark mentioned, with again kind of regards to comic video with a solid audio visual backing, obviously, and pretty decent pacing, I would say please do check it out. It is a light novel original adapted by co-production between Digital Animation Lab or whatever it's called. What it's
Yeah, I don't
called? Yeah,
really know what
Digital Network
digital
Animation
network
is
animation is. It must be like a
yeah.
growing studio or like a sub studio of something
Yeah.
else at this point because they really
Yeah.
don't have anything on Mall either. So it's like
Yeah, a lot of
they
there is stuff in between. It's like in between
yeah,
the system.
okay.
A lot of studios are kind of end up in that sort of limbo. You know what I mean? Where they don't
Yeah, I
never
wonder
end
if
up getting that full
their
project.
like place on this is like a sign or something too though. I don't know, like they're crediting being like maybe this is something that they're trying to like leap off of or like grow
Yeah.
off of or something. That would be interesting.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's that and 0G.
Yes, CRG, one of the veteran studios out there. But yeah, it is again Konyaku こんにゃく、こんにゃく焼きされた令状を拾った俺がいけないことを教え込む。美味しいものを食べさせて、美味しいものを食べさせておしゃれをさす。世界一幸せな表情にプロデュース。Also known as I'm giving the disgraced noble lady I rescued a crash course in naughtiness. I'll spoil her with delicacies and style to make her the happiest woman in the world. Please do check
Yeah.
that out.
And I think I'll stick with Ikenai.
Yeah, Ikenai is the abbreviation. All right. Well, next on the list here we have Toast. What do you have for us?
I don't know.
just some stuff.
Yeah, what new iPhone are you unveiling, sir?
Yeah.
Dark, did you see the link I gave you? What's up with that?
I mean, I saw the picture you sent me. I didn't get a chance to watch the video yet
You
because
should
that'll
have.
play
What?
on stream.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah,
Well,
if
what's
it's
up?
through Discord, it plays. So
Well, you know, who covered Futo Tante? Was that you? That was you, right?
That was
yeah, that was me.
Why is Shotaro called Hidari Shotaro and Philip is just Philip? Why isn't he named?
After his family. Well, because that was a big hint that he's not like actually Philip.
Why isn't he named Migi Philip? But his name is. Oh wait, no. Oh yeah, but remember his real name though? Get it?
I don't remember his real name. I'm gonna be honest
You
with
don't
you.
remember his real name? Oh my
No, I
god.
don't remember
His real name is Raito Sonozaki. Get it?
Oh, okay.
Wow.
Or get it right because Hidari is left and
Yeah.
Raito is right. Get it?
God damn it.
Get it? I get it. Well, why am I talking about
It's
this?
like poetry, right?
Because they're the 2-in-1 common rider, just like how Migi and Dali are 2-in-1 orphan
Orphans
Yeah.
that were adopted, yes.
or no orphan. Spire, what's wrong with you?
Yeah,
Yeah, they
orphan.
are
Orphan.
one.
Or
Sir.
they are one orphan. Spire.
Yeah, one orphan.
Yeah. 2 for the price of 1.
Yeah, man. So this is like the literal first 5 seconds of the anime, so it's not a spoiler, but someone died.
Yeah.
Okay.
Then flash forward to the year 1989, and some old couple are at a orphanage, and they're like, "Oh, we're gonna adopt an orphan." And then they're looking at the orphans, and then I guess it's Migi. Sure, I don't know. I apparently you can differentiate the two between by the way their hair parts.
Yeah.
I don't know who's who. I stopped looking. I don't know.
Migi is the one where the hair parts to the left,
Are you sure?
and or I guess the hair parts on the
How
your
do
right.
you know,
That's
Spire?
Migi. And then the Dali is the one that hair parts on the left side. Sorry.
Are you sure?
Yes.
I can't tell. Sure. I don't know. One of them does some elaborate plan. There's like, oh, the couple are like, oh, we'll think of who to adopt tomorrow, and then their hat flies away. Then oh, they see one of them. They're like, oh, what a handsome boy. And then they're like, oh, and then suddenly it starts raining. They're like, oh, a sudden autumn shower. And then it cuts to another one of them. I don't know who is holding an umbrella over a dog, and like, wow, this kid has a good heart. We'll adopt him. And thus
Okay.
they adopted the orphan Hitori. Get it?
Uh,
Get it?
yes. I
They
do.
adopted one orphan boy by the name of Hitori.
Okay.
But lo and behold, it's actually two orphans. Because when they adopted the kid and sent them their stuff, the other twin snuck in a box. So yes, it's not that there's no hallucinogenics here. There's actually two of them,
Okay.
but they're living the life of one orphan named
So
Hitori.
Oh, so the other
so
guy
that
kind of
so
just
the,
came along
is
for
the
the ride.
idea that like the one sort of sneaks in and they have to sort of work together to like keep the fact that there's
It a
two of
secret.
them there a secret or
Yes.
what? Okay.
Remember
Okay.
that one Simpsons episode where Bart had an addict twin that they
Yeah.
fed him fish heads? Kind of like that.
Uh-huh.
Except instead of feeding them fish heads at every meal, I don't know who's twin, but one of them is like underneath the table eating scraps from the feet of the other one. So it's
Uh-huh.
weird. I sent the picture.
Dude, this is literally just spoiler alert. Her story. Okay, they copied her story. The hit video game.
But it's okay because they do this but at meal times. But no, it's not like they're abusing them or anything. It's just they have to play the part as one person, but you know the other person has to eat. So when the other person sneaks underneath the table, they do this weird, I don't know what do you call it, an Ouroboros technique. It's like
What?
Uh-huh.
it's
Nah,
some
you're gonna
weird
have to
thing.
clarify what you mean by that
It's this
because
weird thing. Here's a
What?
picture.
What?
They do this weird thing where they do this. I don't know. It's in the anime.
That rocks.
yeah. What the
They like some weird Ouroboros technique to slip in
to
to
quick
swap
swap
places.
out?
Yeah, and
It's like a Junji Ito kind of like horror
Yeah,
scene.
really.
it's like okay, so now there's enough for two, and it's like that's cool. But
Is
yeah,
this supposed to be like a darker like thriller series, or is this what is this supposed to be? This is a darker thriller, right?
oh, I mean it opens up with a murder, so yeah. Here,
Okay, okay.
if you fast forward this, and you can see the weird Ouroboros technique. It's freaky. I don't like it.
I think it's
Weird,
supposed to be like a dark comedy like thriller thing.
kinda.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
but yeah. Watch that Ouroboros technique. I hate it. I hate it so much. But yeah. So that's how they.
That's awesome.
It is pretty cool, but I hate it. Yeah, that's how they eat it. Yeah. So there's Migi. I guess he's the more soft-spoken twin. I guess. And then there's Dali. He's the more cool twin. But when they act in front of the couple, they act as the same as this, like, as Hitori, this childlike 13-year-old, because trying to act like the perfect orphan because they're 13
Uh-huh.
and whatnot. So yeah, if you've seen these authors' previous works, and by that I mean Sakamoto, it's as if there are two Sakamotos
Yeah.
in one. And the whole thing about Sakamoto is that guy's a complete weirdo, but he acts like a cool guy whenever he does the weird thing. So I guess that's his charm. That's definitely the brand of humor this show has. Is like, oh, here's Migi Hidari. They're crawling around on the floor like some sort of possessed demon, but they look cool when they do it. And like, it's like, oh, that's the shock humor, I guess. But yeah,
Yeah, at least how the main characters act, it seems very similar to the brand of comedy that is sort of was represented by Sakamoto and in general by
yeah,
the
pretty much.
late
But
Sanonami. So
yeah,
can I
so
ask you just real quick, what is the? I mean, obviously it's only 1 or 2 episodes in, but what do you think is going to be the balance between that sort of dark comedy and the sort of introspection or looking into Migi and Dali and
well,
the
in these
interaction
two
with the family?
episodes, we've already got the basics of the plot like laid out already.
Yeah, because I was
So
wondering how much of it's going to be that versus how much of it's going to be the murder mystery. You know what I mean?
so the whole thing is that they're the sons of the chick who died in like the first minute of the first episode, and
Okay.
so they've been they hatched a plan to be adopted by someone from this specific village that their mom died at, Oregon Village. So they're trying to unveil the murder mystery of what happened to their mom, I guess. And that's the whole point of why they got adopted by this. Why they were planning to be adopted by this couple. So they're acting like there's some sort of strategic mastermind to all this. But in I guess, an inversion of that is that because they're 13 and whatnot, they're naive little kids. So it turns out to be something akin to a Dennis the Menace situation. It's weird because they're they're supposed to be scheming, conniving little brats, or be like, oh, we got to find out the mysteries of this couple and see if they're connected to the village where our mom died and whatnot. And then they see that they have a misunderstanding of like oh, this couple they're going out, but they would invite us, so they must be plotting something. And then they come home with a mysterious object, and they think like, oh, this spinning thing is gonna be. They have a bunch of wigs in their closet. And they brought home this spinning turbine thing. They're gonna cut our hair. So it turned. They're gonna
Okay.
have. So then there's this whole plot of oh, we're gonna make them pay. We're gonna we're gonna burn them alive before they get us. So they hatched this whole plan of like they snuck some wine. They snuck some hot sauce into her wine for their guess what is it? Their adoption party. So the mom drinks the wine. Is like, oh, why is this wine super spicy? And he gives her a glass of water, but it's not water. It's gin. And she keeps drinking gin. And then because the dude, these people are like 6 years old, so they got, and then like the old man has a toupee, so they douse the toupee in olive oil. Then they hatch a plan at like 3 p.m. when they give the presents that it's the perfect time for the sun to appear. So they're gonna use a magnifying glass to light them on fire. So for some reason,
What the
it's
fuck?
weird.
This is like the weirdest version of Home Alone that I've ever
Yeah,
heard of.
well, that's what I was thinking. Like Home Alone, Dennis the Menace, these some weirdly
Yeah.
elaborate pranks and stuff. But I mean, how do you set someone on fire when they've
With
just
them.
been drinking gin? I get the
Yeah.
olive oil thing.
It's kind of like that X-Men Days of Future Past or whatever it was, where it's like it was Future Past, right? Where they had Magneto breaking out of the prison, and it's like he got out of the prison because the jail guard ate too much meat and had too much iron in his body or whatever it was. It's like that.
But yeah, and so when their plan fails, it turns out that they just bought him a bike, and it's like,
Okay.
oh, that's the spinny thing that cuts the hair. No, no, it was a bike wheel that they were hid in the shed.
By the
That's
way, there's nothing like supernatural going on in this series at all, right? It's just all these very
I
elaborate.
don't know, man.
Sure.
There may be because these twins are
Maybe?
creepy. They're creepy.
They're creepy, but are there any supernatural things?
So far, no.
Okay.
But they're too intimate. You know what I mean?
That has to be a supernatural. You can't possibly
They're
have
too
very intimate
intimate.
twins.
They're constantly touching each other and like mimicking each other. It's weird, man. I don't like it. I don't know. But so far, no visual proof that they're
Okay.
supernatural as of yet.
I think that's for the better. I think that's much more
Yeah,
interesting
it's much more
because
fun. It's better. But I mean, look at this. Look at the way they ride their bicycle. What a bunch of creeps. I wouldn't trust them. Look at that.
what on earth is happening? What?
How do you even sit like that on a bicycle?
Yeah. Are they sharing one
Yes.
jacket? No.
Oh no
They're
no.
sharing
No.
Oh
one
yeah.
jacket.
Oh yeah.
Okay, no.
Oh yeah. I should mention that it was a funny joke in the series. They mentioned like, oh, what kind of clothes do you want to wear? Do you want to wear fancy clothes? And like, no, I want my turtleneck and pants. And the year
Oh,
and this is
God.
the year 1990. So the mom was like, why are you dressed like a? Why are you dressed like Bill Bill Gates? It's literally the Bill
No,
Gates
Steve
look.
Jobs.
Yeah.
Steve
Steve
Jobs. I'm
Jobs.
sorry.
Yes.
And I was like,
Uh,
that's what I thought too. So
yeah.
apparently Steve Jobs was
Listen.
wearing this in the 1990s. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's pretty much what he always wore.
Yeah, he will work for the branding.
Sure,
But
but yeah. So that's about it for those two episodes.
okay. How what do you think of the audio visuals?
Fine. They always have this creepy music when they're both together and doing weird hand stuff, and it plays every.
Creepy music as in like something that would fit a dark comedy or like something legitimately trying to incite some weird like horror kind of thing.
I mean, you heard it when they were doing that Ouroboros thing. That's the music that plays every time they're both on screen.
Really?
Yeah,
Oh my
every
god.
time. I don't know what it is, man. It's creepy. But yeah.
Near one. Okay. But
But yeah, it, it's half Sakamoto. It's like, oh, here's some funny haha, but it's also half murder mystery. But like when they
yeah.
get serious, they're just doing like super childish pranks,
Mhm.
like Dennis the Menace style pranks that blow up in their face in a good way. Like, oh, we misunderstood this, so I'm guessing the plot is that these are a prank of the week in a way, where they're trying to prank the couple and learn more about the stuff, and they're trying to be like diabolically evil, but it backfires on them
Mhm.
in a good way. I don't know. It's kind of hard to explain. Like everyone in this series is weird in some way.
Again, part of the sort of Sanonami brand, right?
Yeah,
But at least it's good in
it's good humor. I like
or
this
yeah,
humor.
it's good and weird humor in like a way that again I guess is good instead of just being weird and a bad like oh this character is like developing enough and they're just doing random stuff. But yeah, it's
If I mean, yeah, if you like Sakamoto, this is definitely that style of humor. But now there's two of them. That's
yeah.
pretty much how I
It's
can
very
boil down
unfortunate
this
that this was
series. Yeah,
his last work. It was
her
again
last work.
Sakamoto and now his Migi and Dali are as you said are both good series. So it's unfortunate that The original creator.
You mean
did pass
her, Spire? How dare you?
Sorry, her. She did pass
Yeah,
away.
this is the last series that the author did. It's
Mhm.
completely finished. Yeah, it ended 2021. So if this anime ends before it gets to the end of the manga, well, check out the manga because it is done.
Yes. Do you think the anime will finish in time? This is 12
I
episodes, right?
don't
13.
think so.
Okay.
Maybe. I hope it does.
Do you think it's probably going to get a season 2 to wrap it up maybe? Because like it's the issue is like with stuff like murder mysteries or with stuff like this, it's a little bit harder to just have the characters run into the sunset and just like not have a second season. You know what I mean? Like
I don't
usually
think this will be.
okay.
Sakamoto was not
Didn't it have 2
finished, right?
seasons?
No,
It
Sakamoto just once. Well, it was just 12. Or 13, I
okay.
guess. Oh no, Sakamoto did finish, did it not? Yeah.
Yeah, Sakamoto did.
So it might be. Yeah, this might finish. I can see how. I hope it does. But yeah,
Yeah.
everyone in this series is weird. The old couple are weird. Their relatives are weird. They're hiding something. There's some weird dealings going around and along in Oregon Village.
Yeah.
So I'm interested to see how this pans out.
Right.
The opening is some people who Yumega Doki. I don't know who these are, but the ending is Skyline. And if you're gonna watch either the opening or the ending, I'd suggest the ending because the ending shows some interesting uh it shows them as boys when they had to live alone for a while because their mom died. So it's a lot more interesting to watch than the opening. But yeah,
Yeah.
I mean it's pretty good. I don't have any real complaints. So I like Sakamoto. I like this series. They're
Yeah, both.
I like weird freaks whenever I get a chance at them. These guys are weird freaks.
All right.
I
So
sure like
yeah.
what other series has two brothers doing weird stuff? Phineas and Ferb, does that count? Johnny
There's
Test?
the Uchu Kyodai, right? Uchu Kyodai
I'm
is the
sorry,
brother.
I don't speak Japanese, Spire. I only watch American TV shows.
Yeah, I
Would you
apologize.
count Johnny Test, even though
What the?
That's just this
it was
one
a dog?
guy, isn't it?
But
Yeah.
he had a
And
talking
his
dog, dude.
dog.
Yeah. Uh, quirky. What is this genre
Chakra.
that I'm thinking of? Like a quirky, like duo. Usually a brother and another brother. Drake and Josh. Sure, let's throw Drake and Josh in there.
And Drake and
Keenan and
Josh
Cal.
do
I
Parent
don't know.
Trap.
Sweet Life of Zack and Cody.
Oh yeah. That's a good. There you go. That's a good one. That's a
True,
good one.
and their hair matches as well. Wow.
It's
Oh
true.
yeah. Sister. Right.
Fuck.
Sister,
Yeah.
sister. Uh, Mary Kate and the Olsen twins. Sure. I like Buddy. What is this? What is that genre called specifically?
I have no
What?
idea.
Like brother and sister comedy duo.
I think it's just a sitcom, bro.
Sitcom? Yeah. Okay, that's a good one there. It's like a sit. This series is like a sitcom. Yeah, so definitely check it out. I recommend this. I'll give it a high 7.5 out of 10 because I like these weird freaks.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Toast, for helping to cover Migi Todari, also known as Migi and Dali, done by Geek Toys, co-produced by Geek Toys Comptown. Geek Toys has
Oh yeah, Geek
a
Toy.
bunch of other stuff as well. It's a manga original done by Sanonami, who also was the author slash illustrator behind Haven't You Heard? I'm Sakamoto, or Sakamoto, which was also a pretty great series, a pretty lauded series. And obviously, Toast is lauding this one as well. So if you kind of do like the quirky um, nature of the characters that you saw in series like Sakamoto-san, and you want this one out, it's a little bit of darker tone, but it has its comedic moments as well. Please do check this out. Yeah. Moving on to our next series. I guess I'm going next. It is it is Bokura no Ameiro Protocol, or also known as R Rainy Protocol, also known as Protocol Rain. So this is one of the more, how do I say this? More named ones on social media before we got into this season, right?
Yeah.
It was the esports series of the season. I can't believe esports stuff is becoming much more of a genre now, or I can't believe it. I just don't like it. It is done by Quad. Um, sorry, it is done by Quad Animation alongside a bunch of other um, studios in tow. Quad is a smaller studio and much more newcomer studio. That's been doing stuff. I want to say in the last like 1 or 2 years or so. They've only really done anime for Miss Kruitsu from the Monster Development Department, which had an interesting story. I covered that, but its audio visual quality was quite lacking, which kind of shows up in here. But we're gonna get into that later, as well as My Life as Inukai-san's Dog, both TV and the OVA stuff, which Toast
Oh
covered
yeah,
as well.
that series
And that
pretty
was a
good.
little bit of the audio visuals on that was okay, right? I think.
I
So
like I believe the ending where they were running away from a pervert. That was a good ending.
okay. But yeah, they don't have much experience other than those two. The staff generally is various heavy duty veterans on the direction and the anime creation side. So, like sound direction, animation, editing, stuff like that. Most of them are pretty much veterans of many, many years of many, many series. A little bit, most of the producers are a little bit, again, green behind the ears, minus maybe Natsume Koichiro, who is a longtime veteran. So, yeah, most of it's like veterans here. For instance, again, chief director who's also doing um, series composition and sound direction. So which is kind of like, I don't know how to take this as a sign, because I feel like if you have the money, proper money for a bigger contract on an anime, right? You usually do have more like people at the like job distribution, right? Um, but the fact that Yamamoto Yasutaka, who is the chief director, but he's also doing series composition and he did the sound direction for this series, is kind of telling me that they were a little bit, they didn't get as much money as maybe they would have liked for the man hours required for this series. But yeah, he is a veteran. He worked on stuff like Jitsu Watashi wa. He did Aharen-san, Nekopara, Noblesse, Mondaiji Tachi, Valkyrie Chronicles. Did a lot of storyboard on other stuff. Um,
None
Obviously,
of those
again,
series gives me hope, Spider.
what about Noblesse? What about Noblesse?
Nope.
Here
Harem
would
Sun
say
was
that.
actually quite good. So
Yeah, Harusan
You
was decent.
you also said
Harusan
Valkyria
Mondaiji Tachiya was
Chronicles,
also,
and
yeah.
I was like,
Uh,
no
uh,
thanks.
yeah, Harusan Mondaiji Tachiya and Jitsu Watashi wa was decent. The other stuff was a little bit iffier. Um, there are again other veterans: Takayama Katsuhiko, Kosaki Satoru, Hirayama Kanna, who did what is it? She did like Oshinoko. She did sorry, character design for Oshinoko, Kanokari, action projects stuff like that. Goroku Hiroshi,
Did you
again,
just say
like all.
Kanokari? How dare you?
Yes,
How dare you put that right after Oshinoko?
I apologize, but I have to mention like the bigger name stuff on the list. But yeah, so a lot of veterans, mostly on the animation stuff side and direction and so on. A little bit if you're on the production side, but anyways. Oh, by the way, the opening arrangement is actually done by Hiroyuki Sawada Hiroyuki, which is a little bit surprising, but it is
You
what
know
it
what,
is.
Spire? That proves my point. Remember when I said in the previews that, hey, this kind of looks like a Rent a Girlfriend? Well, guess what? Apparently, I was right.
Yeah. But yeah, the opening and ending I didn't find neither of them were very impressive. They were quite middling. I apologize to all of the Sauna Hiroyuki fans, but it is
Oh
what
yeah,
it is.
oh yeah, Spire. How dare you? Name one good here. You name one good
Wait,
Sauna
are you
song.
saying? I think that's the reverse, right? One bad. What?
What?
I think you mean one bad Hiroyuki Sawada.
Yeah, go ahead. Name one. No, name one good one, Spire. I'll wait.
One good. The thing is, like whenever I talk about Hiroyuki Sawada, I always think of like stuff like Gundam Unicorn. But Attack on Titan, right? Didn't he actually do the composition for Attack on Titan opening, or was that just the OST?
I think he did a couple. I think he did a couple of the earlier openings. Yeah.
Yeah. I
And now,
mainly remember him like whenever I have to like remember stuff by him, it's mainly like Attack on Titan, Unicorn, and the Guilty Crown. Oh, Kill la Kill as well. Kill la Kill.
all right, Spire.
He
I'll
was
give you.
also involved in fuck, what's it called? The mecha series that Robuchi was involved in for one episode.
The
I'll
Alno
know
Zero, right?
zero.
Yes, I'll know zero.
Three episodes,
Yes.
sir. Three
Oh,
episodes.
sorry.
But yeah, it was a little bit surprising to see his name in there, but it was a little bit middle. The voice acting cast is pretty much stacked with the standard A-listers of the past couple years: Ono Kensho, Mamiya Sora, Nase Inori, Waki Azumi, Kaede, Kuramomo, Ryuhei, Sugito Tobukazu, Tokiyoshi. All names that you should have seen in many, many other anime series in the past X. Pretty stacked, both on the staff side and on the seiyuu side for the most part. The audio visuals are like so. The audio visuals when they're doing stuff in the real world is pretty standard. Okay. The character designs themselves are fine. However, when they're in the game, when they're playing, like when they're playing the esports game or whatever, the esports game's visuals are terrible. They are not good, and it is essentially like the game is a ripoff of Valorant, real life Valorant, and it's just like so not good. Like
By
the
the way, when
visuals is
Spire
not
says like it's a ripoff of Valorant, you might be thinking, oh, so it's like
a
so
team
they
game.
made like a sort of like a modern like tactical first person shooter or something. No, they kind of just like took assets and threw them into whatever
Even
engine
like the
they
planting
could.
the mine, right? The bomb is like
Yeah.
exactly.
But
how-
like the actual visuals are not like they're effectively impossible to describe. Like
It's like people
because
It looks
praising
like
the
it's like
visual. There
Gmod
should
and
be
made
nobody
by
praising.
like
Yeah,
either made I don't know
nobody
like
should be praising the audio
you
visual,
can
or
tell
nobody
most
should
of the
be praising.
budget went to the animation and definitely not the esports part of this.
Yeah, and even I think in general the money for this, the contract, the amount of money in this contract for the series was just not there. Part they had to.
And
I
this
mean
is
I
an
don't think
original, correct?
I would be hard pressed to find to think of a single studio that would actually be able to pull this off is the thing.
It's called The King's Avatar. They've done it like
Yeah.
3 times already.
Because like yeah, but like really
It's
because
weird because even the live action King's Avatar did the game better than whatever they're doing here.
They should
I
have
don't
just
know
done it
because
as
like
like a regular anime. Like I don't know
Yeah,
why they
well,
tried so hard.
maybe they're trying to be cool, Spire.
yeah, I
Yeah,
think their idea was to try and
yeah.
like actually make it a game or whatever, and it's like
and then they
Like,
realize,
oh,
oh,
well,
we
not
can't do
obviously like
this.
release it,
Wait,
but like
wait, we
no,
can't
not-
do this.
yeah, to like do that almost like, you know, oh, we'll do it like it's like a machinima or something, and then they realize that like, wait a minute, that means we need to make literally every asset.
Yeah,
And then and it's like, yeah, that's gonna take more time than if you just animated
the
it.
I watched the shooting. It's so bad. There's no muzzle flash. There's no recoil. It's bad.
No, it's like sub Counter-Strike 1.6. Like,
Yeah, it's not good, but
It's like they're trying to play, I don't know, PUBG on the lowest graphic difficulty setting.
it's like they're trying to play a web browser version of Valorant. That is essentially what it is.
They're
But,
trying to play what Mortal Kombat 1 on the Switch.
they're not even
It's
like
bad.
this is like yeah, I mean actually I was gonna say this is like an advertisement you'd see for a game that's like fake. You know, on like
yeah,
Twitter.
one of those like
This is,
Chinese
like-
mobile game kind of stuff.
Yeah,
like, on
where
the
it's like, you
side
know,
of
they're
the,
like killing the
video.
zombies and they're like running through the multiplier, or like fucking
Yeah.
the other one where they're like trying
You
to like
must
shoot a
cultivate the wealth
tower,
of
Hey,
this-
man.
Yeah.
Hey man, don't diss zombie survival or whatever it's called.
or like
call it?
pulling the keys, like with
Yeah.
Envoys like advertisements and shit. Like that's like where you'd expect to see like this, but for like a Valorant like
Yeah.
clone.
So
Who try to like fucking steal your data.
Yeah. So going over the esports cycle, it's not really that to begin with.
The
In the
problem
world of
is that there's so much of the game they're showing, and it's
yeah,
super,
because it's like an esports series. They have to show it. Yeah,
it's
so it's,
super jarring when you compare it to the main series. Kind of
yeah.
takes me out of it when I looked at it.
It's like the main like outside of the game. It's like Tawawa no on Mondays, right? It's like that, and that gets you no Tawa, right? And then inside the game, it's just like, fuck is going on? Like, what the fuck is this? But yeah,
They
quick
have
thoughts
good
here.
artists on here, but then it's like, oh,
Yeah,
like
they have veterans on there.
Yeah.
These are the animation direction and like stuff is all veterans, but it's just like, and what I'm saying
Again,
there,
what they
I
tried to do
compare-
is like fucking impossible. Like there is no
yeah, it's impossible, and they're not getting nearly enough money for what they're fucking trying to do. They're not getting Valve money for this.
But like,
I mean, I think the only way you could pull this off is if you got a sponsor from.
I was gonna say a licensed game.
Yeah,
like that's the
Tencent.
only way to
Oh,
do
yeah,
this. Like if
Tencent
you
is-
literally got sponsored by like fucking Valorant and like you just
Yeah.
use
Yeah.
Valorant. Like
or like you got like Tencent money.
Yeah,
unless
like
that
there's
happens, you're not. It's not.
yeah, there's no way to do this. Like even to animate this would have been hellish with what they like want to do, because like they want to give it that like authentic cut to like esports like gameplay feel or whatever. But it's like, you know, obviously it's like animating that in 2D would not replicate that same feeling, and would also be like nightmarish too, because then you'd have to like, you know, animate a fucking HUD or whatever and a bunch of shit
Yeah.
that would be also difficult either way. So kind of trapped
Also, it would,
themselves with this
like,
one.
You're only doing this for like X number of episodes, too, right? You're not really like this is not going to get like 5 different seasons. So
Yeah, I think in that regard, it probably was easier to like shit out like a Unity stand or like fucking Unreal like standard game or whatever.
I hope they're not using Unity because they'll be losing even more money.
No, don't worry. That guy, that's only for downloads, and that guy's gone now.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. But yeah, just going over the plot real quick. In the world of esports, Tokino Shun, the main character, is a second-year high school student who started working at esports cafe Fox One after his father's accidental death. However, it comes to light that Fox One is in a considerable amount of debt. In order to repay the debt, Shun and his friends enter the Zaxarian Championship to win the prize.
Like
So
Yeah,
that
well, maybe
plot
Fox
is
One's interior shouldn't look like a fucking like Qzar, like a fucking Dave and Buster's, like a laser tag arena.
yeah.
Maybe more people would come
that
in.
plot. That plot is strangely similar to the King's Avatar in a way, and I
The thing
don't
is, I mean,
like
it's
that.
not a ripoff because
It's not an
like
original
most of
plot.
these.
Like, bro,
Yeah, it's not an
that's
original plot to begin with.
basically. I mean, it's basically Love Live at that point, or like even like the
Or
injured
like
family.
any competition kind of thing.
The thing that
It's the
yeah, like
whole beaten down,
I'm
downtrodden
pretty sure
pro
that
comes
was
back
this was
to
Yeah.
the
like
league,
part
and
of
it's like,
the
yeah,
premise of the what was that fucking movie with the Power Glove for Nintendo?
the Wizard or something like that.
Yes, the Wizard. Yes, yes. This
Oh
is
man,
the
that movie's.
fucking this is the fucking Wizard. That movie's ass, by the way.
Hey man,
Um,
hey man, that's the
This
first
anime is
introduction
not
anyone ever got to Super Mario Brothers 3 over here.
bad.
I'll I'll give it props for that. The
yeah,
first time they
listen,
showed that off.
that's my college education, by the way. Speaking, that's how I know about that fucking movie.
But yeah, it's a very standard. Oh, I'm secretly skilled. I gotta get back into the game that I went away from, and so win the champ or whatever, and then please cast next to them and all that.
Isn't this the Hibike euphonium of
Esports series
esports?
is
Or
that?
or not Hibike euphonium. What about is that the one where the piano dude and in the forest? What am I thinking of?
Piano no Mori, the
Is
piano,
that the one?
the
I don't know.
piano, yeah,
I didn't watch
the
those.
piano forest.
Spy, yeah.
Uh,
Is it more like that? I don't know.
I would say Piano no More is definitely more.
Okay.
But I mean, what do I say? It's a very standard. Let's to begin with. The baseline is the whole like, oh, I gotta get back, and then into playing the game for the shop, or he gets not railroaded, but like cajoled into playing the game again and stuff. And then it's like a balance currently, at least in a couple episodes, but it's probably gonna pan out. It's a balance between him playing the game and like them like talking about basic like video game stuff, right? Like, oh, there's low latency, blah blah blah, like pros need to go above and beyond, or all that fucking crap uh, that people who don't play video games talk about when they're trying to make video game stuff. Um, and then
Wait, you're saying that it's like an E3 demo? The way they're talking about it?
yeah, yeah, exactly.
With like
They're
what
just
is it?
like saying
Was it
shit.
the district or what is that shooter game?
The
I
Division?
don't know. Uh,
The Division,
You're talking
yeah.
about?
Was it like the Division E3 demo? Or
Nah,
I
they're not like they don't like act out like that.
they don't use gamer
yeah,
speak?
they don't do, but
Oh man,
it's
it would have been better if they did.
yeah, it would have been, it could have been pretty funny if they did, but they do that, and then it's like some like character interactions development, plus sometimes like like as the cast or like different members come in, they're trying to um they have sometimes like episodic or like mini arc kind of plots where they're trying to either develop the characters or they're trying to chase down some like weird mystery or drama that happened. Um, and then there's also part of it. Obviously, they're going to go through the main characters' kind of struggles as well, but then also, um, honestly, the most interesting part I found I had about the series was the girl, I believe, Nozomi Natsuki, right? That's the brown hair girl. Yeah. Nozomi Natsuki, voiced by Inazumi Minori. Inori Minase, who is you know, okay at the game, but then because she's like a girl gamer and working at like the PC cafe, you know, she gets catcalled, she gets convinced into doing stuff she doesn't want to do, stuff like that. I honestly think that focusing on her and her struggles and stuff like that, similar to how sometimes like some like the side character struggles were elaborated upon in series like Ryo no Oshikoto or like Chihaya Furu, right? I think elaboration of her character and her struggles in terms of like being a girl gamer, but in this sort of esports environment or whatever, would be like 100 times more interesting than any of this premise, esports garbage, whatever it is that the series is going. And I think this series, obviously, the initial premise itself is very good, but it just suffers from too many like problems compounding together. It suffers from the original premise not being very novel, and the structure of it isn't that good to begin with. The whole "oh, I'm coming back, I'm going to succeed and win the championship." Like, come on, this
I feel
kind
like
of movie plot really got tired out in like the early 2000s, I want to say, or like
see like
in the late 2000s. Like,
I enjoy that in a sense where like what was it? Was it episode 2 where it's like you find out like his sister is like paralyzed or whatever and she's like, "Oh no, like you should get back into it if that's what like makes you happy." And like you should get back
yeah.
in and like you should win or whatever. And it's
Mhm.
like I feel like that level of cheese could be like really good and like really like melodramatic, but played up could be awesome. But the problem is, again,
Mhm.
the game's visuals are so bad that it's like,
Yeah,
uh,
I can't
this
get
is just
immersed, man.
such yeah, it's like such an integral part of this type of series. And it's so fucking bad.
I also
Like
think like
any other series that could have been like fine, I feel like. Even if they did animate it, even if this was like a full dive fucking VR game as its gimmick,
mhm.
like could have been like that sort of like melodramatic premise could have gone over far better. As long as like the visuals of the game weren't whatever the fuck
I
we
just
got.
think that like even if we go for like the return of the skilled player success story, you gotta stop, hiding and get back in and play the game that you enjoyed or whatever. Like even that's like okay, but even put it like e- even when we are like okay, this is a basic okay story structure, the whole as you said, like the game, and even not just like the game being shitty visually, but nothing that they are talking about with regards to the game, like whenever they're in any of the game scenes and they're like, oh, he's shooting so well, he switched to the knife, stuff like that is very, it's so obviously green eggs and ham level of like understanding anything related to these like games or stuff like that. It's just like, for instance, again, if you compare it to the a lot of the Four Girls in a Club series, right? These days, stuff like Place Further Than the Universe, or stuff like Loop, or like some of these, like a lot of these other fishing series that we've had recently, right? Or like Let's Make a Mug Too, or Yamano Susume, or stuff like that. The level of detail and attention and trivia and like relevant stuff that I might be interested about in the theme is so present in those series, and it's so not present in this series that it's almost
Yeah,
offensive. It's like
I think it's
game.
because it
Wow.
it,
It's
it
like
pigeonholed itself. Like
yeah.
I think again, I think a series like I think it's a huge mistake to do a non specific, like non sponsored um
Mhm.
game like this, like esports thing, and not make it like more like fantastical premise of like full dive like VR shit or something, you know?
Mhm.
Because I feel like
Mhm.
I feel like where you lose a lot of it is that like this is not game trivia at this point. This has to be like you're trying to do like esports trivia,
Introspective.
but
Yeah.
this game
You have
isn't
to do like
real.
character stuff.
Well,
Yeah.
what I'm saying is like in the problem
I
that you
think
run
yeah.
into with this is that like this game is not real and you're trying to do esports trivia. So it's like you
Yeah.
could do like basic like Counter-Strike slash like fucking Valorant style fucking trivia or whatever, but it really won't. I don't know. I feel like it really won't click as much, if that makes sense, because it's not like you can. It's not like people have anything to really connect to. Like you can't do trivia about like Valorant characters. You can't do trivia about like Valorant specific like abilities, Valorant maps, like players, anything like that, because it's not Valorant. It's just fake Valorant. So it's like
Yeah,
it would,
it's like you a lot of. I mean, I think it's definitely hard for this series in specific and
and
how
it's not
it's set
even
up
and since
to
it's
go
esports,
to.
like what I should say is specifically like, since it's esports and since it's a Valorant type game, it's not like you have trivia that you can have this be a like game world or anything like that
Yeah.
because it's fucking Valorant or Counter-Strike. There's no fucking world. Like
Yeah.
you plant A site or you plant fucking B site. Like
Yeah.
okay, like
And you set up the
there
wall. Yeah, exactly.
yeah, it's
It's
like
like
there's no like you can't, you can't have an establishment of like lore in the anime for the game. Like you can't do any of that. So
it'd be funny if they did have an episode on like spray patterns, but even in like Valorant, it's not really.
even that it's just like so boring. Like it's so fucking like
Yeah.
and again for it to not be specifically Valorant, it's like okay, you can talk about spray patterns all you want, but it's like okay, that's like so intangible because it's not like you can connect to that as like a Valorant fan and be like, oh, dude, they're talking about like the spray pattern of this gun, or like if you're a count since I don't play Valorant, but if you're like a Counter-Strike fan and it's like, okay, oh wow, they're specifically talking about Counter-Strike like goes like CS goes AK spray pattern or something like that.
Mm.
Or like the different spray
Yeah,
patterns, but it's specifically like CS:GO spray patterns. Like you can connect to
Mm.
that more than like here's this fake game with spray patterns. Like that's such a like
Yeah.
I feel like intangible thing for a viewer that it kind of falls flat on its face. And that's just what I mean when I was saying like, the whole like a full dive MMO or something like works way better for that in my opinion.
Yeah.
Because then you have like a world space to at least play with and establish. Whereas that like this doesn't.
I think also like two other routes that I could have done where it's the first one that it's kind of trying to do now is focus a lot more on the specific characters and their struggles in this very, very, very vague, ambiguous esports quote unquote quote world, right? Where it's just like it's more about the characters being like, I have to succeed or like whatever it is, right? Like all this fucking drama. And that's okay, but then it kind of I don't think you should sell it as an esports series. I think it's honestly kind of dishonest to call it an esports series because it doesn't bring anything of value to a gaming related and as an gaming related anime or an esports related anime. I think you should just focus on the drama and be like, oh, by the way, he's playing the James. He's playing all the video games. I think that would be one path to go about it.
Yeah,
And then the
it
second
would have
path,
been better suited to just be a basic like tournament series
like
at that
dramatic, yeah,
point.
exactly.
Maybe
Yeah.
they shouldn't have
Um,
shown that much of the game by itself.
They really
that's
shouldn't have
also
Like
just
just too
shown the
much.
game at all. Like,
It's Valorant, and they should just have the computer screen like flashing white, like just like. But
would
Or
have
like
been
maybe
better,
maybe
honestly.
5 seconds of the game in total every episode. They showed
yeah,
too
yeah,
much.
yeah.
Too much.
Well, yeah,
Reduce
because
the
they tried
amount
to
of
do
actual game.
they tried to literally show like a fucking what do you call it in like Counter Strike and Valorant where you like 1v5 wipe a team or something. Right, you're like last man
Yeah.
standing, and then you team wipe them.
Mm.
Like they tried to like show that at one point, and it's like, dude,
Ooh,
you
don't.
can't
This looks
fucking
terrible.
show me like
Yeah.
him killing 5 people in this. It's not even that exciting when you watch it in Counter Strike and Valorant. Like it's really not that exciting. Those
Yeah.
games are not like
Yeah.
like I'm not saying that it takes no skill to play them or anything, and that's not like a high
Mhm.
skill ceiling, but they're not like the most high octane games as a viewer who's like not
Yeah.
knowledgeable of it. So
Mhm.
like showing like that, it's just like no, like what the fuck? Like this wouldn't look that great even if it was the real game, but like This is even worse because it just looks like it looks even shittier. Like it just looks like shit.
Gone are the days of Modern Warfare 2. What is it, kill cams? It's not like that anymore.
It's and it's just like what also and like the other route that it could have taken, and I think if it did a very proper, how do I say this? If it did enough research, I said research, I think it could have been okay. Is doing the esports side or doing the competitive game side, the human side of esports and competitive gaming and stuff like that, on a very much more detailed scale than again talking about like how it's like the mental issues you might have when you're trying to get into a game or really trying to grind through a game or becoming a pro. And obviously, there are people in the Japanese Valorant scene, pro scene and stuff that you could ask, um, as well as obviously the struggles of maybe again the female characters just being like, I'm trying to play fucking games here. I'm trying to play competitive games here, but these male motherfuckers are trolling me all the time and trying to catcall me and whatever. And I think that could have been interesting, and certainly something of value if it was really properly researched. But whether it's the lack of money or the lack of interest in doing that sort of research or the lack of proper esports infrastructure in Japan in general, or maybe a combination of all three of those, uh, it just you're just getting an esports series in name. You're just saying, "Oh, it's esports. It has games." You viewers like games and esports, right? Like and Valorant. You guys are like Valorant. Here, there's a series that has these things on the cover, and it's just a very um dishonest, I want to say at least, and very kind of trivialized series that is kind of offensive, especially for the people who, again, kind of want to watch these series to see these sorts of details, to see that gain not necessarily a sense of trust, but a sense of like um emotional relief almost, or a sense of happiness that's like, oh, when they made a series for this theme, they actually tried to put work into it. They actually tried to put their bag into it and tried to make something that would really appeal to the viewers. And I don't think they did. I don't think that these guys, as much as they might or might not have tried, really did a proper job in trying to build a series around this. And it's just very um it is quite disappointing, in my opinion. Um, and regardless of all the veterans working on here, all the city working on here, Sauna Hiroyuki, whatever, it the end product is just something that they should have just made a general generic series focusing on the character drama and stuff like that, instead of trying to label it as esports or competitive or whatever this is, or even just doing this in general. I just don't think it was a good idea, and they were quite clearly not ready for it. So, um, big disappointment overall. I don't think I really have to repeat myself. That's pretty much about it. I don't really want to repeat myself if I can help it. So, um, that's about it. And if I
You
had
know
to give
what?
it a mouse, yeah.
You know what I think? They should have just hired VTubers who play Valorant. Be like,
Yeah,
hey,
honestly, that wouldn't have been the worst idea, but
be like,
it is what
hey,
it
hey, we watch, or like, make it about their Apex tournament, but maybe Apex is too much money to use.
I mean, they should
is.
have. I mean, they should have seen if at least in passing. I mean, this type of series. I don't know. I was thinking of this too. This is kind of like that Arcade Girl series, but if like you couldn't use any licensed fighting games in that, and like that would be
Yeah.
awful. Like because again, it's like these games are not these are not very like advanced games from a
Mm.
basic build up trivia perspective. Like when you think of Counter-Strike, like, you know what that is. Like, if you've played it, or if you know the game, or if like you've played video games, it's not like there's
And
not
I
a lot
think
going on.
also,
You know, it's like a fighting game.
and I
Like,
think, yeah,
boiled it down at
and
the end of the day, it's like, yeah, there are two fucking characters on the screen, and they have health bars, and there's like stuff
and I
there.
think
But if you
also
don't use a
it's
licensed
easier
one, it's
to,
just goofy.
yeah, and
Wait,
I
what?
also think it's just easier to generalize and use a generic template of something like Street Fighter or Tekken, and just kind of have that displayed as like a game with stuff going on in an anime or manga or whatever, then um well, I think if you try to do a Counter-Strike or a Quake or whatever, it will not be bad. But like it's a little bit harder, as you said, obviously, over and over again, to get into the specifics of it without really being like, yeah, this is Counter-Strike. It's harder. And two, even if a little bit more of a deeper dig is possible, I don't think that they really tried that hard to do it. They were very much just like, yeah, let's just make not Valorant and then call it a day, which was again disappointing. So, um, yeah, it was just a very big disappointment all around, in my opinion. But as for the mouse score, I'd give it. The issue is it just gets so much minus points for both not being creative, not adding much to the genre it professes to be part of, and just being lazy, really, with the research. You guys have all these people, you guys have all these veterans, you guys have this stuff, and you know, to some extent, the esports culture exists in Japan, and to take all that and create this crap is very just disappointing. So I would probably have to give it a 2.5 out of 10, probably. Just disappointment. I just hate, the lack of effort more than anything else. So, um, and the lack of being able to kind of create a sensible series around this theme. The audio visuals included, obviously. So, very unfortunate. Lots of veterans in this series, or working on the staff and stuff like that, but not good. Just not good. So that was my review for Particle Rain, the esports series of this season, I guess. There's probably going to be more esports related stuff to come down the road, but we'll see. It is, again, Particle Rain, also known as Bokura no Ameiro Protocol or All Rainy Protocol. It is an anime original. So, yeah, that should be it for my review.
Yeah, well, if they pull out a Sirens reference, then that'll be one of the deepest cut trivias they could ever pull. So then they get a 10
Yeah.
out of 10.
Yeah.
Hey man, if they sneak in Titanfall 2, I'll take it.
That'd be pretty good too. Yeah.
Bro, people
But
in
yeah,
the real
anyways, that was
world didn't play Titanfall 2. Like,
Yeah.
Never forget, Titanfall 3 got canceled for Apex.
don't worry, it's getting an announcement this month.
Yeah. Anyways, that was
New
my
character. Was it B2? What's his name?
Huh?
Thing's name? 2B?
Oh, B,
Not 2B.
yeah, B2, I think, right? Is the main robot in
B2?
Titanfall 2?
Yeah.
I don't fucking remember.
BT,
Yeah, I think
I'm
it's
sorry.
Oh, BT.
I'm thinking of 2B, but yeah, it's BT.
But anyways, I do want to end the review real quick. But yeah, so that was my review for Particle Rain. And last but obviously not least, we have Nier.
No, it's the least.
What? Yeah, it is the least of all these here. But yeah, what fun series do you have to cover for us today?
How come Nier gets 2 on 1? That's not fair.
We're gonna get
because
do
both
like
of
a
my
sound effect
series
here. Do like
equate
little-
to half of one series.
Oh, sick.
Yeah.
But yeah, I watched FLCL, Grunge, and
And
FLCL, Shoegaze. Wow.
So near for us not in the know, what is a grunge and what is a shoegaze?
So grunge and shoegaze, for those of you who don't know what the concept of music are two different genres of music. And that's it. That's really all.
that's
The,
part of what it makes it cool. Do you
Oh,
not
wait.
understand
they
this?
have
Oh, wait.
Hey, do you
no
know who
correlation
else
on
doesn't know what grunge and shoegaze is?
yeah the producers of Fulikuli Grunge and Shoegaze.
Oh wait,
But
is that why it's called Fulikuli alternative, like alternative rock?
yes, alternative rock and
Oh,
progressive
Yes,
rock.
yes,
I
yes.
thought it was alternative because it was season 2. Oh, I never got
No, they are music genre. So for those of you who don't know, Fulikuli Grunge is the third season in big quotation marks
Yes.
of Fulikuli. And if you don't know, Fulikuli is a 2000 OVA. It's a series of six OVAs back in the post Evangelion era of Gainax.
Yes.
In the wake of Evangelion, Gainax pushed out a lot of very creative projects, a lot of projects that had a huge amount of talent behind them. People that went on to work on, very, very big stuff. I think the scriptwriter for the original Fulikuli previously had worked on Revolutionary Girl Utena. He went on to work on the Evangelion rebuilds, and I think he's currently working on Bungo Stray Dogs as well. A lot of very famous.
This is also, by the way, FLCL, the original season or set of OVAs rather, was also co-produced alongside Gainax with Production IG during their
Yes.
sort of classic eras of, I guess it was years after Ghost in the Shell, but also where they did stuff like Jinro and so on. But obviously during that sort of period of time where Production IG was also exploding, like just becoming so much bigger. Before they became like the full umbrella company. Yes.
Yeah. So Fulikuli at the time was sort of it was like, I guess the comparison would be like, Mappa and Madhouse working on a series, but we saw how that went out. But this one was good, right?
This one, right? Exactly.
Yeah. So Fulikuli, if you don't know, is a very beloved series. It's kind of I'd say most successful take that the anime medium has had on sort of the coming of age story, in a manner that is like, not a literal like, boy is graduating from high school and he needs to grow up, right? Fulikuli's story is a bit more abstract. It's not as, apparent. It has a much more metaphor usage. And on top of it all, it is an audiovisual masterpiece, right?
Yes.
It
That's kind of why
absolutely
it's loved
pushed
so
the
much.
boundaries in every way of animation as a medium. It pioneered new methods of storyboarding for anime. Like it was revolutionary.
Yeah.
And it's a pretty big following currently. And I think like, what was it? Like, when did Progressive come out? It was 2018. Yeah, so almost 20 years later, Production IG, who currently owns the rights to Fulikuli, and Adult Swim sort of co-produced a second and third season of Fulikuli, and both progressive and alternative were 6-episode series similar to the original, and they later got truncated into movies. And coming up to now, Adult Swim decided, in the wake of the largely middling reception of alternative and progressive, people were really not very impressed with those series. They decided, we're going to do that again. But this time, we're going to have Fully Grunge be an entirely CG production. It's going to be a 3-episode miniseries. And we're also going to give a special treat. We're going to bring back returning characters from the original. Aren't you happy? Aren't you so happy? So Fully Grunge is the general setting is on a planet that is effectively dying, right? The adults have basically given up. They've sort of realized the hopelessness of the scenario. All of the rich have sort of fled the planet, and the youth are sort of
Left scavenge.
yeah, they're sort of just left to languish in this hopeless scenario.
The heck
And
is this Darling in the Franxx? What's going on here?
yeah, the sort of, I guess, moral or thematic question that FLCL Grunge asks you is, what does the youth do when their sort of elders have given up on the future and not laid any sort of road work for anybody to flourish after them? Like, what does the youth do after that? And the answer that Grunge gives might surprise you, because it's pretty much to give up. Just give up. So, like I said, FLCL Grunge is 3 episodes, and within these 3 episodes, it sort of takes the idea of a singular event told from multiple perspectives, right? And this singular event is really not very important at all, because the singular event doesn't really have anything happening in it either. It's sort of just a bunch of shit explodes, and then one person gets to leave the planet. And the 3 episodes are supposed to be, from what I could gather, sort of little character stories for the main cast. Except they don't really do that at all. They kind of just show events happening, and then the climax happens, and then it moves on to the next character. The first episode follows Shinpachi, who is the son of a sushi chef, and his life is effectively to just work under his dad making deliveries until he meets the famous character Haruko Haruhara, who comes in and causes a stir. She makes a bunch of shit explode, and that's pretty much where it starts and ends for Shinpachi. The second episode follows Shonari, a weird rock creature that isn't really explained at all.
They're from a different planet, stupid.
Yeah, they sort of just present them. They're from a different planet. They don't say what planet. They don't say why they came to this planet, which is also fucking dying. And Shonari is the brother of Dainari, who is a Yakuza member, and his brother is sort of looking after him. And his brother's an alcoholic. Shonen gets bullied in school because he's this weird fucking rock monster. And he has a crush on the other third character. And that's also where his story pretty much starts and ends. And the third character is Orinoko. She is the daughter of a blacksmith. And this blacksmith is like sick or something, or he's just depressed. I don't know. And she wants to sort of find this rare ore so that she can get her dad out of this weird slump he's in and, craft something worthy of his talent. And with the help of Shonari, she ends up finding this like meteor ore, and her and her dad craft this katana, who she gives to Shonari, and Shonari uses the katana to, protect, her and Shinpachi when all this shit is going down. And then by the end of it, the ending is literally just Orinoko gets to leave the planet because her friends are like, the last ticket on Earth or whatever fucking planet this is. It's not Earth, but the like, last ticket to the shuttle off of this planet gets to go to her because they said so. And she leaves, and that's the end of the series. Literally nothing happens in this series. I don't know why they made this show. It's all CG. It looks like shit. It's really fucking ugly.
You know what this reminds me of? This or this your review of it, and obviously this series or not the seasons. Shoegaze remind me of a recent kind of videos / podcast I was listening. Why do modern movies suck, right? Why do modern blockbusters suck? And obviously, it combination marketing sucking, people just not having very good idea of like anything related to their series or like the culture surrounding it, or like studio executive, right? Not having a good idea of the series or like the culture surrounding it, or like why that series first and all that stuff. And just like people trying to push, studio execs and producers trying to really just push for that franchise regardless of time, place, or occasion, and just kind of trying to please this like metaphorical viewer who is just generally into FL's fully coolly without really thinking about
Yeah, I don't
why
really
they're into
know
it,
who
right?
this is like trying to please though.
Yeah.
Like
They don't. What I'm saying is they don't know.
Yeah, I mean,
That's why it's bad.
obviously, yeah,
No.
obviously,
Yeah.
because execs have no idea what the appeal of Fulikuli is, right?
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
see the funny robot, they see Haruko with the guitar, they see, the fact that Fulikuli as a series launched the Pillows into like a mainstream music stardom, and they go, okay, just do all of that. Just do that.
Just fully coolly thing. What's really
yeah,
funny to me
which like
is what's
anyone
funny
with
to me
like
is that
market
the
research have been
first
like, okay,
season.
so we make a new series is what you're saying.
Yeah, yeah. It's like what's really funny to me is that even just the format of Fully Cooley and its like reception, or like its point and its reception, it should have been obvious that the whole point of it, as Nier said, was that it's almost like a music video, right? Or it's like a lengthened music video over these OVAs, um, with both the allegories, but just more of like a show of audiovisual prowess, right? But even back in those days, in 2000, 2001, early 2000, right? The Having something like a 6 OVA series um wasn't that common, right? Like obviously you had more shows that were sets of OVAs. This is like not counting like Netflix kind of stuff, right? You had more series that were packages of OVAs, and you had more series that had unconventional episode numbers, right? Like 32 or 16 or like 11 or 10 or whatever. So you had like these uncommon numbers, but even within that like lineup, you didn't really have a studio going like, yeah, we're just gonna make 6 OVAs and then or a very few number of OVs and that's it. Fuck you guys, kind of thing. Like we're just gonna take this, we're gonna make essentially again like a music video, and then we're gonna get out. And that should already have tipped off anybody with more than one brain cell, I want to say, just thinking, oh, people watched Fully Cooley because it pushed the boundaries of what it meant to animate anime, right? Animate a story in the style of Japanese animation. It and not realizing that and making these like weird 3 OVA like continuations and stuff like that of the lore behind this, like trying to expand the character stuff for some reason. And even if like they want to do like approach that in a serious manner, it would have been better to do it in a longer kind of full 12 episode plus story, right? Like you can't do this sort of expansion of the lore in 3 episodes because then as Nier said described of the plot, it just becomes like, oh, a bunch of things explode and then we skip over the characters in each episode and then it ends, right? So they're not thinking about how they should do things, even if they want to take a different direction. And they're taking it in a different direction from what it was that made Fooly Cooly originally popular. So they're failing on so many different fronts. It's like, why? Why would you do this? It's
So
very,
Well,
it's
I
very
mean,
unfortunate.
another
Yeah.
front. How are the grunge tracks in grunge? How are those?
Yeah, so I want to talk about the audio visuals, right? Because so for Fully Cooley Grunge, obviously the elephant in the room are the audio visuals, right? It's fully CG. Now I will say the CG has a art style to it, so it's not like just
Yeah, there are
slop,
ideas.
you know. However, it's not executed particularly well. There's a lot of really weird compositing of like 2D as well, like next to the 3D characters, and the 2D is also not executed very well either, which is very strange from a production IG, um, production. And then the soundtrack, very similarly to the original Fully Cooley, is just random smatterings of the Pillows tracks, right? Which, if you have listened to the Pillows, right, you'd probably know that the Pillows are not a grunge band. They don't play grunge music. So why this series was called FLCL Grunge, like completely escapes me. Because this is a very colorful series. It's not grungy at all. It doesn't really have any sort of grunge aesthetics. As far as I'm aware, they kind of just put musical genres on a dartboard and threw a dart.
They're just gonna get into like math rock like
Yeah,
next
like
season.
Well, I
like
think
Dark
it
and
would've
I
been-
Dark and I joked before the podcast that
Rubiton,
like at this point we're going to get FLCL EDM, and it's just going to be it's still going to be the Pillows, like
Yeah,
they
I was gonna
really
say, like,
don't.
it's really like I feel like that ties back to as well the thing that you had brought up, Inspire brought up, where it's like what had made Fully Cooley special, and like the idea. It's like you could do that again, but it would have to actually be original again, and also maybe do a different band too in whatever series you're using. Like, maybe
Yeah.
don't make it always the pillows. Like,
But yeah, as for the staff on this, it's kind of hard to see like who exactly was behind this. I don't know if that's a lack of archivists giving a shit, or if people are just genuinely embarrassed to have their name attached to this thing. The director is Hitoshi Takekiyo. As far as I'm aware, he's directed Hokago Midnighters, which is a movie from 2012 that I've literally never heard of.
Fuck. Okay.
He also directed one episode of the Appleseed OVA series back in 2011, and that's it. That's all he's done.
Word.
So,
The
as
issue
for
is also like even
So,
if you
like-
had good people, it would be hard to. I think the problem is higher up. That's the main thing. I think it would be like, I don't know.
well, yeah, because it's
there's so
also
many
like,
problems.
look, everyone's got
Ah.
to start somewhere. I get that, but at the same time, like, was this the project to start to like have a complete like new blood on? Like, what the fuck?
further evidence that shows that Adult Swim or Production IG or whoever is really heading this, I guess, just doesn't really give a shit is that the returning characters, the agent Amarao, the bushy eyebrowed guy from the original, and Haruko Harahara do not have their returning voice actors, which is incredibly strange for those of you who have at least some experience in recurring characters in really any Japanese media. It is very rare that characters get recast, and these characters have been recast with people that pretty much only have supporting roles as far as I can tell. So I have a sneaking suspicion that they really just didn't want to pay the original voice actor.
Yeah.
Overall, I think Fully Coolly Grunge is an extremely lazy, sloppy, derivative, just piece
Aimless.
of shit. I think it really serves no purpose. I think its message is bad. Like it's an objectively bad message. That if if you're in a bad scenario and the people around you are sort of losing hope, that you should just give up and leave. I think that's a bad message. I think the fact that this really has no resolution at all shows that the creative talent behind this either really didn't give a shit or they just didn't really know what to do in 3 episodes, so they kind of just made a bunch of shit happen.
Yeah, it's like the 3 episodes thing. Even if they had the best veterans in the world, it's just
Yeah,
I
I
can't
think.
Yeah, I mean,
structure
you
that in 3
sent
episodes.
they sent this man out to die. Like, they were like,
I think at
you've got 3
best.
episodes to do a fully coolly fucking series.
Yeah, I think
like, what?
at best this is a very lazy project that was kind of just shit out, and I think at worst this actively does harm to the returning characters in this series, and obviously this is a black mark on Fully Coolly as a series. I'd give this a 1 out of 10, to be honest. I
What is
think
it on Mal? Actually, I'm curious.
it currently sits at 4.79.
Jesus Christ, that's a pretty low
I
score
genuinely
for Mal.
think
For-
I
for
think it
Mal,
genuinely
yeah, for-
deserves lower. Like,
Yeah, I mean it does, but for Mal, for Mal
That's quite low.
4, is very low.
Yeah,
So
that's
so
what-
this has very few people rooting for it.
but wouldn't you consider this to be like, fuck, I can't pull it up. Like, would you consider this to be like X-Arm tier, like bad? Deserving of like a
arguably
2?
worse.
I mean,
on Mal.
deserving of it? Yes, absolutely. I think
Well, I
this
mean,
will
as
this.
for Mal scores, because Spyro's like so shocked about the 4, and I was like, well, X-Arm has like a 2. Like,
I mean, this is recent. You have to realize this is recent. A lot of Mal people kind of just fucking aimlessly like, oh, I watched this, I'm gonna give it a high score, right?
And
They,
also the thing is with X Arm, it's not, especially since it doesn't have a branding, right? People are more likely to just be like, yeah,
That's
one,
true,
fuck this
yeah.
kind of one thing,
Okay.
right?
That's fair.
Whereas I'm more shocked at, the dummies, and I say this with all of my charity and kindness, but the dummies on Mal are, if they see Fully Cooley, a lot of them are also likely to kind of knee jerk give it a higher score because, oh, Fully Cooley kind of thing. So that's why I was shocked to see that it's still getting a lower score, which obviously doubles to reaffirm Nier's overall review of the OVAs, which not good.
yeah. Moving on to Shoegaze now. Shoegaze is so Shoegaze sort of suffers from the I guess piece of coal next to a piece of shit syndrome, where
Okay.
Shoegaze is largely seen as just remarkably better, right? Shoegaze is also 3 episodes. It's fully 2D. It is done. I think it's a joint production between Studio IG, Production IG, and Studio Nut. It is a direct follow-up to Fully Cooley Alternative, which, in my opinion, was the better of, progressive and alternative. I think alternative was better. And it's it's kind of nothing, right? Like it's kind of just like vapid, sort of thin air as a series. It's sort of just a sci-fi high school romance thing. But also the main character of Alternative is like a grown up, and she shows up in it. Like that's kind of the only real ties it has to Fully Cooley. This isn't really a Fully Cooley like series. It doesn't really have any of that like aesthetic or DNA outside of just randomly throwing the Pillows tracks into all of the background music for no reason at all, even when it's not fitting.
Which
Bro,
also
that's why
worth
people like Fully Cooley,
mentioning,
right?
the Pillows
Yeah,
also
again,
not
the
shoegaze.
Pillows, the Pillows are not a shoegaze band, right? Like you could
Mhm.
maybe make an argument that some of their songs and some of their albums have shoegaze influence, but they're not really a shoegaze band. So again, further credence that they're sort of just taking genres that people like, and they're like, yeah, here's one, right? There's really not much more. Like, there's not too much to say about this one. It's fully 2D. It looks pretty nice. It's got a nice aesthetic. The animation's pretty good. The characters are certainly more likable. There's a bit more there, like as in terms of character, but it's really not saying much. Because Grunge
Yeah,
didn't
especially
really have
because
Grunge didn't really have characters. It sort of just had people doing things.
not a lot has happened, and as Nier pointed out, I watched the 2 episodes and I thought that this was a full and so I was like, oh, maybe I can go somewhere. And Nier was like, no, this is also 3 episodes. And it's like, oh, well then no, yeah, these aren't really characters either. Like because
Yeah, like there's no
there's nowhere for it to
possible
go.
way. So only 2 episodes for this one are out, right? And this is 3 episodes. There's no way that this can end in any like satisfying way. Like
Right.
but it's like there's more here to like, right? It's a fairly basic premise. The aesthetic is a bit more interesting. It has the sort of returning characters from Alternative. There's a couple nods here and there to the original. It kind of just feels like, yeah, here's like a little bit of world building for Fully Cooley, but it's like, do I care about that?
Right.
I don't really care about that, Yeah, this is kind of just like a nothing high school series with a sort of like they kind of just slapped Fooly on it. Made it a 3-episode OVA to where it can't go anywhere. And put the Pillows music on it. There's really not much.
That's the most important part, bro. Like,
according to Adult Swim, yeah.
Yeah.
You just put the pillows there and it's good. It's worth noting, this is directed by Yutaka Uemura. He's been he did do alternative as well, for the cool alternative. He also did stuff like Yojo Senki. I think he helped on stuff like Zankyo no Terror. I think he's a guy next old head as well. I think he worked
Yeah,
a bit
I
on
mean,
Maho Romantic,
Zankyo no
stuff like
Terror
that.
aside, I think a lot of this is, although Zankyo no Terror was that anime original or manga original?
I think Zankyo no
feel like-
Terror was an anime original,
Okay.
right?
Well, Zankyo no Terror aside, I think this is also proof that like it doesn't really matter if you have good staff on these series. You just have too much of the studio execs and the production committees being like, yeah, fully cool. We're just gonna roll dice and between random numbers 3, like 2, and like 6, and then you guys will get that much OVA and plus like manpower time, man hours time, money for that contract, and you guys will just make something fully cool, and then we'll just have pillows, right? And it's like, no, just can you guys make an actual anime? Like,
Yeah. So overall, I mean, this one like it's more of a thing, but there's also less to say about it. It's sort
yeah,
of one of those scenarios. I'd probably give this one like I don't know,
3,
4 or a 5,
4, yeah.
maybe. Like it's very middle of the road. Like it's kind of just there. It's not doing anything wrong, really. It's just that it's been fucking hexed and doomed to die with a 3-episode runtime.
Yeah, I was
So
saying I genuinely think if this didn't have like if it wasn't burdened by needing to be attached to Fully Cooley, like
I mean, I think
this
even if this was
production could have
attached, I think
been
even if this was attached to Fooly Cooley, like alternative tangentially, and this was like a 12 or even 6-episode, you know,
oh yeah,
little
it would be
miniseries, like
significantly
this
better
would
either
have
way.
been,
Like
a nice little thing, right? Like there's characters here, there's a nice little dynamic going on, but it's 3 episodes, so it can't go anywhere. Like it literally can't even manifest, right?
Yeah.
So yeah.
It's just so very disappointing.
Overall, I mean, it's worth noting that I think the head of Adult Swim came out after Grunge was just universally fucking shit all over, and the head of Adult Swim was like, "Yeah, we're not making any more for the Cully. Like, we're just not doing that."
It's absolutely the case of that, again, we've been talking about for this entire review, where it's just a studio exec's opinion. And it's
Yeah,
production
I
committees
don't
and
know. I don't know if it was Production IG or if it was Adult Swim who was pushing for it, but either way,
no,
I'm
no.
not sure.
I mean, yeah, maybe it could have been the overall like IG Pro umbrella company, but I honestly think it's like Adult Swim and anybody else that might have been on the production committee who, you know, if it was like Sony or whoever else that was really working on the production committee to give them the
I just wanna
contract,
know who is
they're
the
just like,
asshole
yeah.
that brought it up? Because God knows, like
So,
someone
I
on the
mean,
fucking like these people on the committees are not like dusting off the tomes and being like, what can we pull from fucking 20 years ago?
it's probably one
Like-
of the middle managers to like one of the higher ups in either Adult Swim or Production IG.
I mean,
Probably
I
one of the
have to
less Production IG
assume.
or Adult Swim. Adult
I have to
Swim
assume
probably
it's
brought it
Adult
up,
Swim, right? Because, like I said,
and then that virus comes.
alternative and progressive largely had a very middling response, right? Some people liked
Yes.
it. A lot of people thought it was like completely pointless. Some people hated it, right? And I think between Production IG and Adult Swim, I think Adult Swim is sort of the only corporation there that would see that response and say, this is a success. We need more of this, right?
Especially
I
since
mean,
production IG could
Adult
probably
Swim,
like
Adult Swim for sure kicked off grunge. Like, there's no fucking way that was
like
not
like
them.
Yeah.
also production IG could have just like either sold some like random merch or like on their 30th anniversary they could have done something like weird. Like that's usually how these sorts of projects, if you have licensing rights, like that's usually how these sorts of processes go. Where on their 30th anniversary, the studio they're like, oh, by the way, we'll have like a special movie, whatever. But I think this continual push of the OVAs, the season, stuff like that is used so eloquently as well, is more likely Adult Swim. And then again,
Yeah, I mean,
some
it's got to be them
dive.
trying to catch that like Toonami
Yeah,
fire, right? Like the early 2000s. And it's like,
so stupid.
that's not
Yeah.
happening.
That's gone. It's long gone, man.
Yeah.
I think people that are like trying to hold on to that and recapture that, it's like, you know, again, like I said at the beginning of this, Fully Cooley came out like almost immediately in the wake of Neon Genesis Evangelion. And not only that, the turnaround for Gainax between Evangelion proper and like end of Evangelion, right? Because if you remember, Neon Genesis Evangelion almost bankrupt Gainax. Like they were on the brink, right? And then like Evangelion took off, and then they released the end of Evangelion, and then they had even more money, right?
Right.
And you know, in the wake of that, we got stuff like Karikano, Ebichu, Fulikuli, Maho Romantic, right? A lot of these very creative projects, right? A lot of these very
Yeah.
creative-led projects. And, you know, it really was like just the golden age for Gainax, right? Like they had infinite money. They could fund all these projects. You know,
Yes.
any sort of creative lead that sort of had an idea, they could just go to Gainax head and be like, you know, I have something fucking insane planned, right? And they're like, all right, go for it. You know, you need six OVAs to tell us some weird fucked up abstract coming of age story where a dude grows a fucking robot out of the boner in his head. Go for it, man. Like go for it.
Yeah.
But like you're not gonna capture that anymore. You know, you
Yeah.
can't really do stuff like that anymore. You know, stuff has to be safe now. And I think that is most evident in a project like Grunge, right? Where it's like, oh, you know, Fooly Cooly, this series that was just like cutting edge for its time, um, is now this like overly safe, overly derivative, bland, boring, just slop, right?
Again, the same thing that is happening with blockbuster movies.
Yeah, absolutely. And
So
you know these projects are sort of being funded with the like goal of like rekindling that early 2000s nostalgia, right? But you just can't do that when you push stuff out like this. It's just not going to happen.
Yeah, I mean, again, I think the way to quote unquote like recapture that nostalgia would have to be a deeper understanding of it and like where Fully
Yeah,
Cooley
I mean
fell into place and like the
you would have to bring back
originality
the
of it.
original talent. You would have to
Well,
bring
I mean,
back
not even
like the
just that.
people that were
I
behind
think
that
you just
shit.
have to make something original again. Like, I don't think you can recapture that truly by doing like
yeah,
a
ideally you would make
follow up
some
to
good and
Fully Cooley.
original,
Like, it
but
has
you
to
know.
be like, again, something original on that level. I mean, even you could bring back the original talent and have them like try to, brainstorm like something on that like level of originality again. But I don't think like you're gonna properly capture, what you think you're doing by like, just essentially making the same thing again, but like lesser or something. That's what I was saying earlier with like the bands thing. Like, use someone other, like use do a series with a different band. Like you could even do Like even changes like that would be like marginally like able to do something new and like give you that same feeling without it just directly being, here's Fully Cooley again with the pillows. Like,
Yeah. Honestly, like a lot of the hard, it's like these production committees don't want to give money to anything that's not a quote unquote obvious slam dunk. Just do the 3 OVAs, call it Fully Cooley, and they call it a day. They don't want to do anything beyond that. So, it's just really all around. Yeah, it's not. It is unfortunate that we got again another 2 seasons of this crap in 2023. Think there will be no more black marks on this, but I wouldn't be surprised if in the
according to
future,
Adult Swim, though. So,
yeah, if
I
it would
mean,
be
if Fully Cooley comes back, it's entirely on Production IG.
yeah.
yeah.
So we'll have to see.
Near, there's one left. You ready for Fully Cooley Jazz?
Yeah. Also
Fully
with the
Cooley
pillows.
Moombahton.
Also with the
Moombahton,
pillows,
bro.
literally like called Fully Cooley Jazz. There was not a saxophone in the entire show.
Yeah.
Like,
Anyways, any last words on FLCL, Grunge, and Shoegaze?
No. I mean, they're just unnecessary. Like I'm of the camp that even though alternative was like okay, like neither progressive or alternative should have happened. And the fact that they really felt the need to continue even further just baffled. Like, it really makes no sense. I don't know why these got made. I don't know who looked at Grunge, especially. Who scripted that, who storyboarded that, who planned that all out, and wasn't like, this is bad. Like, this is just not good. And just let it release. But either way, it's there now. A curse upon the world. So. Yeah.
What's the jazz called in Star Wars again?
Jizz.
Fully Cooley Jizz. No, I'm sorry, Near. It's called Jets now.
Oh yeah. Yeah, they removed jizz music. Sorry.
So Near, you ready? It's good, right?
For what?
Aren't you glad to be a Fully Cooley enthusiast than the year of our
big
Lord
Fully
2020?
Cooley fan.
Yeah.
Just
I
there's
mean,
just so
Was it
much
worth it, Near?
content.
Fully Cooley is about growing up, right, Near?
I mean,
Guess.
it was originally. I don't know. I don't know what exactly the
I guess the
showrunners are
studio
planning
never
now.
grew up. Get it?
Yeah. I mean, it's not exactly the original studio anymore.
Or is this what growing up really means, Near? And do stuff that you don't like, even because it's the
Yeah,
way of
this
the
is
world.
really this shit's really meta. It's about growing up and that you get to watch things that you love die.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
But yeah, anyhow.
I think Spire's having a few technical difficulties right
So
now.
whatever happened to the
Yeah.
little boy from regular Fully Cooley? No more? He's just gone?
I
Sorry, can
mean,
you guys hear me?
I'm pretty. Yeah, we can. I'm pretty sure
So
they've
yeah,
never
it's
actually continued his story at all.
Wait,
Like,
because he already grew up. I gotcha.
yeah.
But the only
yes.
but Near, no, don't you understand? The one who has to grow up is Haruka.
Uh huh.
That's why
I
they
mean,
God damn it.
that's still going.
they've only like harmed her character the more series they release. So
Near. It's a growth story, but instead of the growth happening inside the anime, you're growing along with FLCL, watching the changes that occur. That's
yeah,
the real
growing
yeah,
tired.
yeah, exactly. That's the real story all along. It's a meta thing.
So,
You're
so
watching,
near
yeah, you're
is
watching Fully Cooley grow old.
Yeah,
Okay.
near is
that's
this
your story is the growth story of FLCL.
so near is Shoegaze the MGS4 of the Fooly Cooly series with old Haruka?
Huh?
Remember how MGS4 has old Snake and he's dying? Is this what you wanted in Shoegaze with old Haruka?
She's
I
not
mean,
even
she's
in.
not even.
She's not
Or,
even in
or is it
Shoegaze
Grunge?
yet. I mean, she
Yeah,
might
she
Grunge,
be
hasn't.
by
right?
the end of it, but she's in
Yeah, I mean, she
Grunge.
might. But
Yeah, Grunge then.
in Grunge, she's like the same age. Like
I
and
mean,
she's also incredibly annoying in Grunge. Like I don't know. I forgot to bring this up too. They make so many just dated fucking jokes. They make like Me Too jokes, and it's like, dude, it's just
Okay.
it's awful. It's fucking trash.
are we
And
talking prison school type of Me Too jokes, or like is this actually in the Japanese thing?
Yeah, it's in the Japanese text as well.
All right.
anyways, we should move on.
So
Thank
yeah,
you.
Near, what's your score?
He gave it the two or
One and
2.5
one.
for
No,
One.
I think
it was a
yeah,
one.
One
one.
out of
Sorry,
Grunge,
one for
one out of
and
Shoegaze,
then
five,
and
not
then
one
bad.
for Grunge, and then
maybe a 4 for
Shoegaze was 4 or
Shoegaze.
5, right? Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I do want to move on. Thank you, Nier, for helping to cover Shoegaze and Grunge as unfortunate as these two seasons turned out to be.
Don't worry, Near. The next one will be better.
Yeah. Moving on. That was all the reviews we have for this episode. Moving on quickly to the news. We have a decent amount of news, so I'm just going to try to blast through it as much as possible. First off, on the live action end, One Piece gets the second season. Oh,
Wow.
surprise to nobody. And Fuji TV announced on Friday that the 1998 live action series adaptation of Fujisawa Toru's Great Teacher Onizuka GTO manga will spawn a new television special titled GTO Revival that will air on Kansai TV, Fuji TV, and their network affiliates in spring 2024. Sorimachi Takashi, who did GTO, who did Onizuka for the original live action, will return to the role of protagonist.
What the
Onizuka
fuck?
AT, which I like. Can we not like? Come on, like this is like just off the thing of like Fooly Cooly. I just don't,
Yeah.
and just don't. Because it's like,
Eh,
I want to say the live action GTO, even that, like, just barely, like, managed to hit the golden balance and be like, oh, this is like a decent series. Like, and trying to test that again, especially in the year 2023, it's just, I don't know. Just don't,
Did they
man.
say what year it's gonna be set in? Because if I remember, GTA had really old Gundam references. They're talking about like War in the Pocket. That's
I
old.
think
Don't
it
worry,
might
I'm sure we'll get epic
be.
modern references to fucking Koto
Yeah,
or some stupid shit.
it'll be like set in the fucking like 90s, but then it'll have like B2
Oh
references for some
boy,
reason.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I love Shinzo Abe.
yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just
I don't
stop,
know,
just don't
man.
do it. Yeah.
Remember,
Next,
remember, uh, what's the guy? What's that guy's name? Dark.
Who?
Remember he
Who?
said, remember the guy from
They're from Black Sun.
yeah,
They were talking about. Oh yeah. Remember
yeah,
Oliver Johnson? Yeah.
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 um,
Base the movie.
yeah. Think yeah. So moving on here. So some manga subscription stuff. Kira Kira Media Incorporated digital manga service Azuki announced on Thursday that it has added over 300 volumes from 77 manga series published by Kodansha USA Publishing to its library, including Fire Force, A Silent Voice, Kiss Him Not Me, Princess Jellyfish, Attack on Titan, and Eden Zero.
Wow.
The individual volumes are now available for purchase on the service, and premium members get a 20% discount on all volumes as part of their subscription. Blah, blah, blah.
Yippee!
Yeah, so again, this is still like the fight between the billion different digitalization services going on right now. Again, I predict that over the next 5 years to a decade, probably 5 years, closer to 5 years, these will all die out and be pretty much reduced to like maybe two or three services, with one being sort of the big dog. And we're gonna see what floats to the top, and hopefully that one big service won't be a super evil service, but it probably will be. So, and as well as Shueisha, one of the other big Japanese publishers, the Manga Plus website and app announced on Wednesday that it has launched a new subscription service called Manga Plus Max with two plans. The standard plan currently includes 80 currently serious works, including totaling over 6,000 chapters. It's like $2 in like the US and stuff like that. The deluxe plan, what is it? The deluxe plan includes 190 titles, and then see this. Yeah, it'll probably like, I don't know what the max stuff will do, but yeah, it's like it'll probably do like more layered that, or like faster previews or whatever. Next piece of news, and I think honestly this is arguably some of the biggest news this year. I want to say, yeah, I want to say this is some of the biggest news potentially affecting the manga and anime industry this year out of everything that we've talked about so far. And it is Cyber Agent. So Cyber Agent is one of the huge. It is pretty much like one of the main, if not the main, uh, umbrella company that covers like everything related to stuff like streaming, for instance, like Abeba TV, games. It owns like side games, right? And as well as like some other like manga, like digital platform kind of stuff like that. So it is a huge umbrella company covering all forms of media. And it announced on Wednesday that it has established a new business unit called Game AI Lab, which will focus on researching and developing methods for game development using generative artificial intelligence and large language models.
Fun.
Yeah, this generating graphics and characters, natural language processing, blah blah, reinforcement learning, voice processing and synthesis, level design, generating video, 3D animation, music, and sound effects, and all through AI. This is like a boost. Essentially, they're pouring more money into its previous AI lab research and development group department that it created in 2016. But yeah, it's they're obviously moving this into animation stuff as well games. So they now have a game AI lab and an animation AI lab, both obviously which work in their respective medium to do AI stuff. So I do think that this is again arguably the most important news of this year, because this means that not just like any studio or any like company, but literally one of the biggest media entertainment related companies in Japan is taking steps to be like, hey, we're gonna try to pump out AI anime and games now. If you want to stop us, try it. That is business. And I hope that the people running it and the people on top are thinking of using it as helpful, productive elements to speed up the animation process alongside human workers who can benefit from that. But I feel like the actual direction it'll end up heading in is we'll just get like pure AI generated anime and games that'll be like pushed to us in the form of like experimental OVA and stuff like that, and it'll just be like, do you like it? No? Okay, we'll go back to the drawing board, and then we'll just push out another pile of shit like a year later. Do you like this
Yep.
one? No? Okay, blah blah blah.
Yep.
And it'll just be like a never ending hell of like people complaining about it, being like, no, this is not what we fucking want. and then being like, "Are you sure we can make more AI like
Yeah,
anime?"
I mean
It's like
we've literally already seen how this goes with
Netflix stuff. Yeah,
Pixiv and
yeah,
DL
it was
site. Like,
yeah.
if as
And we
soon
literally
as
have the
you
AI anime thing with the Wit Studios
Yep,
incident, right? And
yep,
Netflix.
yep.
Yeah,
As soon as you give the ability to monetize AI fucking slop, it's like, well, dude, what are you gonna do?
yeah,
Try? What are you gonna do? Put effort into it? Like, why?
yeah.
You can
Make
literally, you
give
can
money to
literally,
humans.
you can literally monetize nothing, literal
Yeah,
nothingness. Like, you can monetize the labor of nothing.
yeah,
Like, why would they stop? You know?
yeah,
Unless there's actual legislation put into place, it's like there is no incentive for them to learn or improve. They just continue shitting it out
yeah.
until you either give up and stop even fucking interacting with the medium,
Mhm.
or the government
You
steps in.
just yeah.
Like,
This is speaking of that actually about the regulation stuff. That's an interesting point because again, um, on the U.S. side, on the Western side, the United States Senators Chris Coons, Marsha Blackburn, Amy Klobuchar, and Tom Tillis introduced the draft of a new proposed bill on Thursday named the Nurture Originals, Foster Art, and Keep Entertainment Safe, also known as No Fakes Act, which aims to prohibit the use of individuals' digitally replicated voices and likenesses or appearance without their consent. So, part of this was obviously pushed by stuff like SAG-AFTRA and like other unions as well. But there's also been an explosion and people kind of doing like AI song covers and like using AI voices without consent.
yeah,
Obviously,
see,
presidents.
once the music industry gets involved, then the
Yeah,
government steps in. Like,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
I called this.
And
I called this a while ago.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Voice actors such as Allegra Clark, Erica Lindbeck, and Richard Epcar, among many others, have vocally opposed such replications done against their consent. Obviously, stuff for famous singers have had their AI cover songs online as well. Um, Obviously, to some extent, companies themselves are trying to get in on it. Obviously, Cyber Agent, but also places such as Sony Music Entertainment, who launched a new audiobook app named Yomibito Plus in March earlier this year, which features classic works of Japanese literature read by synthesized voice of three voice actors, replicated with the AI technology from the company Kothon, including the replicated voice of the late voice actor Utsumi Kenji, who passed away in 20. So it's like we're
Yuck.
having a lot of these complications, so to say, as well. And I do agree with Near that it'll be a combination of regulation and we'll just we'll just have to be pushed back. But I'm just so tired of hearing people being like, "Oh, you should just be grateful for the fact they're even like making this new content." I don't want new content in this media. And when I'm, reading manga, when I'm watching anime, when I'm playing games, that's slop. Sorry, I don't. Even if it's new content, I don't want it. I don't want it, and especially if it's new slop that's new AI anime, especially if it's new AI covers of voice covers and stuff like that that are used without consent. I don't want it. I do not want it on my feed. I do not want it. So I just hope that this doesn't go south too fast.
What if I
Next,
want them?
I think it's still probably not a good idea. But yeah, just quick company piece of news here. Asahi Broadcasting Group Holdings announced on Monday that it is reorganizing its anime-related subsidiary companies and has put animation studio Silverlink, the anime merchandise company Zero G Act, under its animation planning company ABC Animation as wholly owned subsidiaries of ABC Animation. So it's just like shuffling around company stuff, reorging. Final piece of news before we head off to shoutouts callouts is some Crunchyroll stuff. So Crunchyroll, uh, earlier this Yeah, earlier this month, August 9th, sorry, not August, what am I saying? October 9th. So announced that Sony Pictures Entertainment and Crunchyroll reached a settlement on September 15th in a class action lawsuit between them and Salvador Bertrand Jr., Ellie Gross, and others, making Crunchyroll users in the United States eligible for payment of approximately $30 US. Blah blah. Must eligible users must submit a claim form. Blah blah. The class action lawsuit alleged that Crunchyroll violated the United States Video Privacy Protection Act by disclosing subscribers' personally identifiable information (PII), Facebook and other third-party companies. Sony Pictures Entertainment and Crunchyroll deny the claim, but have decided to settle, quote unquote, to avoid the uncertainties and expenses associated with continuing the case.
Okay.
Beltran and the others filed a class action lawsuit in the district court for the Northern District of Illinois in September 2022. So, this means that they did it, essentially.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
like this means that they did it, but legally you can't say that they did it.
yeah, and also right afterwards, they all after they announced that they were, giving up and paying out for the class action lawsuit, they announced that it is collaborating with Sony Pictures Entertainment to launch a new 24/7 linear channel on various streaming platforms, as well as they also entered a merchandising partnership with Black White Orange in India to sell more stuff, such as Psalm 100, Trigun, Pistol, stuff like that. And so, like, again, I just want to say the one part where I don't want to be humble about our podcast is that we have been a strong opponent of Crunchyroll doing things in the field for since the creation of the podcast. We have been proudly so, despite so many people saying stupid shit like, "Oh, you should be grateful that they're stepping into the localization scene," or whatever it is. Despite the fact that, or like, "Oh, don't they have shitty subs, but at least they're doing it in the official localization," or whatever the fucking other bullshit that they had over the all these Crunchyroll fans and justifiers had over the years. Despite the fact that you knew these guys were bad from the start. Do you know why? Because and I talked about this with Dark, uh, you know, um, outside of the podcast, but just the fact that when Crunchyroll started, they had a very shitty player, and overall, their localization service was shitty. Their video player was shitty. Obviously, their subs were middling at best, and usually at that time when they were barging into the scene, the fan subs, for the most part, were higher quality than the official subs. So you had all these problems. And then what did they do as they grew bigger? By the way, they were a joke from the beginning. They were essentially a joke until I want to say a couple years back, right? Even a couple years back, you still had studio interviews where they were just like, "Yeah, Crunchyroll was in these at these networking events, but we just laughed them out of the room and stuff like that. We thought they were a joke." Um, so what did they do as they grew bigger in their initial days? Did they improve the localization service? Did they improve their website? Did they improve their player? What did they do to provide a better version of the core service? The answer is they didn't do any of that. They started expanding. They did created different departments to try to sell their merchandise and try to increase their licensing networking, and to just do stupid fucking PR marketing stunts like Crunchyroll conventions or whatever the fuck, or doing that, what is it, that making that new cafeteria or whatever that looked like a fucking steel playground.
Yeah.
Yeah, they did a
And
really shitty cafeteria.
yeah,
They did the
while still not
Crunchyroll convention
yeah,
stuff. They did the Crunchyroll they tried to make the Crunchyroll awards a production or whatever when it's
yeah,
like
yeah,
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 like the
yeah, yeah,
Game
yeah.
just make a
Awards. It's like
fucking
not-
blog post, dumbass.
And also remember, all of the company news that we saw, like, you know how we always cover like news throughout the years of like Crunchyroll is expanding in these like various capabilities. Whenever they're creating like doing like they were doing expansions, it was always like creating new offices or like doing like other side efforts, like trying to sell merchandise or whatever it is. It was never about making their localization service better, which is their core service. The reason why Crunchyroll exists, the reason why Crunchyroll like people even turn towards them is because they have that service in the first place. And so
Yeah,
I
and
knew
now
from the start. Yeah.
we've seen where it leads now with the subs for fucking what's it called, which I haven't seen if they've fixed those yet.
Yeah,
By
did
even
they do
episode
like machine
2.
translator or like some really shitty like
Yes,
Yuzuki-san,
stinger?
yeah, Yuzuki-san's
they
was
did
definitely
they
machine
did
translated.
100% machine translation, and they got called out on it, and they took it down.
Yeah. And they were like, sorry, we had some unsatisfactory quality. It's like, no, it's not just
Yeah, no,
unsatisfactory
you
quality.
haven't
You
had.
guys
Yeah, it's
literally
like
just
you
tried to cut out the
literally.
middleman.
Yeah, you fucking.
Yeah, they
You
just
fucking
they
machine
shit that out onto their
translated.
site because
What?
they thought nobody was gonna watch that shit. Like,
Yeah, or like people were just gonna like scoop up that slop or whatever it is.
yeah,
And it would be one thing if like you had at least a
I mean, it's
like machine
either that.
translation
It's either
into
that,
QA.
or it's a fucking what's it called? Or it's like a what's it called, like freelancer like not getting their shit in on time and they just fucking threw it into a machine translation and was like,
Yeah.
whatever, like I'm just gonna do that, which is still bad on their part because it's like, yeah, okay, you should be having
You
that
don't
still
have a
went-
QA or
check
editor.
these subs.
they
That-
clearly
yeah.
they clearly went through an editor, right? Which means your
Yeah.
editor doesn't give a shit.
But the
So-
problem
And
was
QA.
didn't,
Editor
didn't
QA
other
are
didn't
should be two
other
separate roles,
regions
yeah.
have correct subtitles at the same time?
I have no idea.
I don't know.
I don't know.
I
Yeah,
read
I
that,
didn't see that.
I read that
mean,
other regions had correct subtitles at the same time. So what's happening there?
I mean,
I mean,
would
what's
imagine
happening there
like
then is that's again
I
our
imagine
English
those are probably
translators.
probably
translating.
handled by different people.
But yeah, it's just so evident that they do not care about their core service and the service that actually provides the the brunt, if not pretty much all
product?
of the value, to their viewers. And now we're
Yeah,
at
I mean,
this point where
it is literally all of the value because like
yeah, exactly.
without it,
Because you're not doing
Crunchyroll's
Crunchyroll for
gone.
Crunchyroll Con.
Like,
Yeah.
right, yeah, like you can get rid of Crunchyroll Con. You can get rid of your shitty cafeteria. Like you could just have a regular cafeteria. You could get rid of like all of like your merch. You can get rid of your fucking VTuber attempt. Like
Yeah.
you don't need those things to stay afloat. If you get rid of like the media player or the fucking subtitles or the like just streaming service in general, then you're gone. Like no one's here for anything else.
And the most frustrating thing is now, like before, we could have choked out Crunchyroll in its sleep when it didn't have as much power and just, tried to find a different company. But now that Crunchyroll is not only stronger, like has significant sway, but is essentially the only dog on the market because of the merger
I mean,
with
it
Funimation.
yeah, it's more or less a monopoly because
And it's under Sony Anime Pictures after after it got bought from away
Yeah,
from Warner
it's
Pictures.
and
So
it's importantly like the only anime exclusive streaming service. Like
yeah.
it's not
And
like you can't say like Netflix and shit because like first of all like that's already showing its cracks for one, but two like it's not the exclusively anime streaming service, which means like when they're cutting license deals and shit, like that changes a lot. That changes a lot about like notoriety for the companies going to try and license out things. Like
I think High Dive is anime exclusive, but they're a much smaller player. So
yeah. And also like let's say third like some brave souls who exited Crunchyroll or had experience in this sort of general management, license management and localization industry came together and tried to create like a more honest company, right? That already is like a pipe dream, but let's say they did, right? Currently, Crunchyroll is under Sony Pictures Entertainment. Do you guys honestly believe that at this point, if a new like licensing or localization place comes, that Sony Pictures will not do their damnedest to just wipe out, just nuke from the surface of the planet whatever other like service that tries to come near.
Oh
Like,
yeah,
of
I mean,
course,
I
listen,
wouldn't
it's
be
like,
I wouldn't be surprised if they're already like wheel and deal to try and like
yeah, they will absolutely
prevent
strong arm
companies
like the studios.
from.
Yeah,
Yeah, they
working with them.
probably already try and prevent studios from like going to Netflix and shit.
Yeah,
And being like,
exactly.
hey, if you like go to Netflix or Hulu once, then we're not taking any of your properties or
Yeah.
something like that.
And
Like,
Sony Pictures Entertainment is the major controlling influence in terms of like this media in Japan. And guess what? A lot of Japanese studios are in Japan, like in the smack dab, like in the middle of, in Tokyo or Osaka, or like in these like major metropolitan places, and essentially under the thumb of Sony Pictures. So, you know, uh, it's just such a shitty situation. And as much as it is obviously, corporate greed that led this way, I think it's also a big part on, you know, the weeb culture, the anime culture in the West that also led us here, being so complacent and being like, yeah, of course it's okay for any Crunchyroll to do anything, just fuck us in the ass or do whatever it is, as long as we can get our mediocre localized anime out. And I think, this culture has unfortunately led over the years to this not only decline in quality, but in a situation where we now really can't do anything about it. And it is just so disappointing to be in this situation and just have to watch. Now we just have to watch Crunchyroll, unless like they literally survived a class action lawsuit on a privacy notice, and they're expanding. They are literally expanding. They're just like, yeah, whatever, bro. Like, we sold your data.
yeah, I
We'll
mean,
give each of you guys $30. Like,
Yeah,
okay,
give you
we
$30
literally are
now.
just like waiting now. Like that's about it.
yeah,
We just have to
yeah.
wait for them
Unless they,
to
yeah,
die essentially, because I
yeah,
mean they are like they will. Every streaming service will realistically.
yeah,
Like
yeah.
I don't think any streaming service is actually ever going to last. Like they've been around for a while, but I think the cracks that you see with like Netflix and the cracks you see with like even the early stuff you see with even things like Game Pass and stuff like that, where it's like, yeah, no, this shit is like just so blatantly unsustainable that it's like irrelevant. Because at some
Yeah.
point, like, the idea like is you get people in for like Crunchyroll or something, and like at first your Crunchyroll subscription is like $7.99 a month, and then it's $8.99, and then it's $11.99, and then it's fucking
Yeah.
$15, and it's $20, and it's like, well, I don't know about you, but like I already like do not pay for like any streaming service at this point. Like people in my
Mm.
family have some of them, but like if there's not like a package deal where you're getting like three different services, like the Disney deal or whatever, where like like Disney Plus, Hulu, and some other shit, and I think, and then like or like Netflix bundles and shit like that, then it's like, yeah, I really don't think people are gonna be out here paying like $30 a month to be watching fucking Crunchyroll for them to be like sustainable in the future or like profitable with their fucking
Mm.
expansions. Like, yeah, I don't think people are going to be willing to pay that, and then I think you're just going to see it fall apart regardless.
Hmm. Yeah, it's just such a pity. I mean, now we just have to watch it. So, well, it's like as late said in chat, like Sony Anime Monopoly in the West soon. It's like
I mean, it's
it's
already
essentially a
there.
duopoly.
Like,
Yeah, I mean, well, it's technically still like a duopoly because half of the licensing, or a lot of the licensing, is under Warner Bros. From like the far, arms, long arms of Warner Bros. Entertainment, and the other sort of half-ish is in Sony Pictures. But now Crunchyroll and the general anime localization scene has too much momentum now that Crunchyroll got bought out by Sony Pictures. because Crunchyroll has actual power. If Crunchyroll didn't have power, and Sony Pictures just kind of bought it in the early days and was just like, do we kind of want to do localization? And then like it got dumped on because of various incidents or whatever, it'll be another matter. Now it's just too powerful. It's too powerful. And we'll we'll see how that pans out. I think Warner Bros. And like, Netflix and stuff like that will still have significant market share, but
I mean, they'll have market share, but I think
it's
the
the
problem
problem.
is, like you said, that like Sony is a Japanese known company. It's like this known entity. I think the fact that Crunchyroll again is the other than like High Dive or whatever, like the fact that it's like that big and
Yeah.
the exclusive like anime streamer, I think
Mhm.
that paired up with, the Sony, like the weight of Sony, that's easy to put around like and throw around through, especially like Japan, like on the Japanese side of the business. Like you're
Yeah.
not gonna have them, like you're not really gonna have studios be like, or like even the production, like,
Going against Sony Pictures.
or licensors be like, oh man, like who are we gonna go with? They're just gonna say like, all right, we're just gonna like give this to Sony to do with Crunchyroll. Like
Yeah.
they're not gonna be like, all right, who do we go with? Well, what about High Dive, right? Like it's just instantly gonna be Crunchyroll every single time.
Yeah.
I think is what's gonna happen.
Yeah.
At least, and I think it's gonna get worse. Like, especially if they can scoop more and more like larger stuff. Like, I think that's gonna be a problem, right? Like if whatever is next, whatever the next like quote unquote Demon Slayer is, like if that shit starts also all going to Crunchyroll, then it's like really over. Because I feel like that's really keeping Netflix as like a player in the game at this point, where you do have large stuff like that. But if that also just unequivocally goes there too, then
Yeah, and also
not gonna
if
be good.
even Netflix is struggling, then it's just like it also sets a precedent where it's just like, or it sets an example rather, where people go, okay, well, like, why would we be able to succeed in this market, or like, why would venture capitalists invest in these other like smaller companies to pop up, right? It's kind of like that.
Yeah, I mean, I would be really shocked
Um,
if like a lot of streamers continue. I'd like to see a decent like market, like a decent storefront would be nice to see that doesn't
yeah,
upcharge like fucking $1 million for fucking things like that. Like a simul release that you just pay for would be nice to see, but you know,
it's and Crunchyroll just has the economies of scale just working behind them all the time now, because and so it's hard to undercut them in terms of price. Yeah.
oh yeah, I mean
Anyways,
you're not undercutting
yeah,
them. Yeah.
yeah. That's also a huge problem. Yeah, we'll see. It's very disappointing, and we'll see how it kind of unravels in the years to come. But hopefully, it won't be. As always, again, the focus should be on benefiting the viewers of the anime as well as the studios who make the anime. And I hope that pain does not overly befall those two parties. But studio or but publisher executives and these sorts of companies gotta try to scrape all their pennies, right? So we'll see. But yeah, that was the news for this time around, and we are finally coming up to our shoutouts and callouts. Shout out, everybody here gets one shout out and one call out each. Shout out is one thing that you want to talk up, 10 out of 10, praise to the heavens. Can be any one person, place, or thing. And of course, call out is something that you want to insult, berate, so on, rant about. 0 out of 10. And again, it can be any one person, place, or thing. And we start now with Toast. Shout outs, call us, please.
I'm gonna.
Huh?
What? Did you
Dead.
say something? Toast is dead.
Oh, there we go. Okay.
Okay.
Hello.
Hello.
Yep.
You know what I'm gonna shout out?
What?
I'm gonna shout out
Yeah.
Yes.
His brain.
What is going on?
Hello?
Yeah.
Hello.
What's going
Alright.
on? Okay.
I'm gonna shout out. Uh,
No, you could always
You.
pass. Like that. That is an
Yeah.
option.
You.
We could go back around.
I mean, I'm gonna shout out. I could shout out Toa's 3D Live. Good for her. Solo Live. Yeah.
Okay.
Pekaros is coming up
Oh.
next. Wow, I don't know why it took her that long though. She definitely has
what
enough. She has enough money and clout for a solo live. I don't know why. Maybe she would have.
Maybe it's just like schedule stuff or like whatever, or setting it up with
Like,
organizing.
maybe
stuff.
she's been busy.
Yeah.
Sure.
It's just not her thing, you know?
No, it is her thing. Like, she's been in a lot of songs. She definitely wants that. So I don't know.
All right. What about your call out?
I'm gonna call out.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm going to call out Canada.
Uh-huh.
Okay. Do you have a reason why?
No.
Okay, that's fine too. To be honest, just casually calling out Canada.
Oh, I remember now. I remember my real shout out.
Your
I'm
real
gonna
shout out?
yeah.
What is it?
My real shout. I'm gonna shout out the new what is it? What's your name again? Makino Eiki Dojin. Hell yeah. After I want to say like 6 months, 7 months, 8 months. I don't know how long. It's a new one.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Well,
I'm not gonna say the title because it's unsay so.
Okay. Well, thank you very much,
Yeah,
Toast.
8 months. Hell yeah. Oh yeah, my call out. I'm gonna call out the
You already called out
guy.
Canada,
No,
right?
I Nia lives in Canada. I can't do that.
Okay. What's your real call out?
I'm gonna call out the rain. I don't like rain.
Ah, yeah. It also prevented you
Sure
from
block
seeing
the
the eclipse.
eclipse.
Yeah, I wanted to see the eclipse.
Yeah.
How dare you?
Unfortunate. Thank you, Toast. Shout out, call out, and Dark. What about you? Shout out, call out, please.
Um, I think I don't know.
Yeah,
I gushed a
yeah. I
lot
get.
on
I see.
past
I get
series.
you. I get you.
I gushed a lot on past series, so I'm not gonna do that. I'm gonna give a little shout out to Star Citizen. They released a cool spaceship, and it's very
How much did
fun
it
to
cost you?
fly. Nothing, because I melted the other ones that I had, or some other ones that I had, and I got store credit. So basically, it was free. Its normal price is $300. Um, but yeah, it's cool. It's got a lot of guns.
Nice. Call out?
I think my call out's gonna be like, I mean, this is an odd one, just because I don't think I really ever called it out before, and I was going through new tracks, or just some tracks today on Spotify, and like auto released All Night Radio,
Oh, hell yeah.
which is good. But what that did do was I was going through her discography again, and I was like, did I miss any releases from her? And then I forgot about Show.
What? Oh yeah. Oh
And then
yeah.
I listened to Show, and so my call out is gonna be, I'm calling out fucking Giga P, because I really don't like Gigatrax anymore, man. Like, I feel like he has not grown as like his production in the decades I've been, or the like, must be like a decade plus at this point that I've been listening to his shit. Like, it's just like, I feel like every fucking Giga P track sounds the fucking same. Like, It has the same intro. It has like a very similar beat. It's got instrumental samples all over the fucking place, thrown throughout. It's mixed like shit. And yeah, I just like I don't like it. Like it's just so fucking muddy. And I feel like All Night Radio, like going through Otto's discography, especially, like going through like the Giga P tracks versus like any other fucking song. It's just like, yeah, I just like hope these collaborations fucking stop. Like,
Just
I don't know.
But dark people seem to like Show a lot.
I listen, they can like whatever they want, okay? I've been listening to Giga P for so fucking long, and there's really no difference between like Show and like any Giga P produced like I don't know, like fucking real track. Like it's just yeah, I don't know. I just don't like that no more. Especially for Otto. Like especially for Otto. Like I don't think her vocals shine on it. And yeah.
yeah.
But what about the Pad Thai song?
That's not a Giga P
Oh,
produced
yeah.
track. You know how you know it's not a Giga P produced track? Because it doesn't have the fucking producer call out in the beginning and like the shitty gun cock noise. I don't think he does that anymore though. He might still do that, but I don't think he does. I don't remember hearing that on show, so I can't say that. But for years, Giga just did the fucking like the vocal, like the Giga call out with then like the shitty gun cocking sound effect. It's like fucking awful.
All right. Thank you very much for your shout. I think you didn't do the call out, right? Or was the call
No,
out like
that
related
was
to the
my
audio?
call out. My
Giga
call out
P
was
was a
Giga
call out.
P.
Okay. Okay. And Nier, what about you? Shout out call, please.
Shoutouts to today. Well, I guess yesterday, technically.
Yes.
Being the 42nd anniversary of Urusei Yatsura.
Yes.
Pretty
Wow,
cool.
Near, you're 42 years old.
Yeah.
He was born on exactly the same day as Urusei Hatsune's first episode.
Yeah.
But
Callouts to is right. I don't know. Callouts 2, I guess. That like last fight in fucking Divinity Original Sin 2. That shit's ass, bro. That shit's not good.
Okay.
That shit's fucking. It's just. Well, like it's one of those moments where it's like, you know, when you're playing a game and you're like, did the devs even play this? Like,
Yeah.
but you know, whatever. The rest of the game's good. So.
Okay, thank you, Nier, for shout out call out. Let's see this. My shout out. I had a shout out literally like seconds before I switched on to Nier, and then I forgot it in the span of Nier explaining a shout out call out.
Yeah, Spire, wasn't it the English cover of the Shigeru Ui song that you like so much?
No, I don't think that was it. I don't think that was my shout out at all. What was I gonna say?
Don't worry,
Let's
bro.
see
You'll
this.
remember it after the podcast.
Yeah. I'm just gonna give a quick shout out, I guess, just to some of the actually no, I do actually want to give a shout out to well no, I'll just give it to the VTubers that I've been watching just because
Yeah, name them.
there's a lot of them to be honest.
Name one.
It's mostly like the Korean stuff. Oh no, I remembered. Yeah, so recently, not recently, but a couple of weeks ago, Mnet, MusicNet, one of the major sort of, I guess, music concert event organization like companies and like streaming broadcasting companies on and like kind of brands, right? In Korea, they mostly do like K-pop and stuff like that because they're a Korean company, duh. They invited Yoasobi into Korea and had them perform Idol just because of how
I get it, because
popular
K-pop, Korean Idol, I get it.
uh, because it was so popular and they did it, and it's been the first time in a very 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 long time that like just like a full like Japanese band and not, like obviously there are Japanese girls in and boys in K-pop groups and stuff like that, but this is the first time in a very very long time that they got like a Japanese group to perform at like a Korean event. And I prefer that sort of, I guess, cross cultural exchange over some of the other crap that I've seen so far where it's like the there's another recent craze in Korea is like eating like tanghulu. If you guys don't know what that is, that's like a Chinese snack where it's like you essentially dip fruits and stuff like that into melted sugar, molten sugar, and it turns into like
right, right.
yeah, hard candy and stuff like
Yeah.
that. That's been so much like you literally see like tanghulu stands and stuff like that everywhere, like every other block in Korea now. And combined with the fact that like mala stew, mala hot pot, like mala stew, stuff like that, is also super popular in Korea and it has been for a while. Combined with that, people are joking about how like parts of Korea have just become Chinatown with like everybody just like that kind of stuff. And so mala is fine, but like the whole tanghulu craze,
Yeah.
I'm not a big fan of. And instead of that, we should have more
Hey
USFP
man,
and like other
they could be
things.
eating seasoned rocks like they do in
Yeah.
communist China, okay?
Yeah. Sure. People are like joking about how like pretty much everything is like there's how it's like XX game like alignment chart or something like that where it's just like pure like it only has to be structurally correct or like it
Yeah.
has to be like an actual sugar thing. So there's like an entire Tanghulu like alignment chart where it's like it only has to perfectly match. So it's like technically poutine is Tanghulu because
Oh my
it's like it has the
god.
coating with the fries and the gravy.
Ugh.
It's like technically people in latex is like Takulu, but like
True.
with
True.
with the latex, yeah. So you know, it's been interesting, but please just bring Yosabi and the others on. I want to see Fauna at Mnet, okay? Like I want to see that shit live. Um, so the live event was pretty interesting. I can post the video later, but that was my shout out. A call out, it might be relatively obvious in retrospective, but it is to all the people throughout the years that have justified the usage of Crunchyroll. Now, official localization is fine, and when uh, the novel club or whatever it is, right? The light novel club came out, I supported it initially. Um, when the other official like manga and light novel like localizations were pumping out, new novels, on and on, and having decent translations, I supported that. But I did not support Crunchyroll for this all the reasons that I mentioned back in the news section, because they were a crappy service and they were not interested in providing proper service to the customers, to us, to the people who want to watch anime. So I want to just say, fuck you to all of the people who justified using Crunchyroll and said, no, it's okay to have Crunchyroll in this industry. It's okay for that, just be grateful, okay? Just eat the slop. Just be grateful that you even have localization to begin with. Fuck all of you. Just saying. Now we're in this situation and we can't even get out of it. So, but yeah, that was my shout out call out. And with that, we are finally done with our first review. Again, we have a lot of series to cover. we're not gonna say that they're all good series, but we
They're
do
not.
have a surprise. Spoiler alert: they're not gonna be.
Yeah.
But uh, we do have a lot of series at least to cover for this season. I've had to cut a lot. Dark and Tosa have also had to cut out a lot. I know Nier is raring to go on all the series that he wants to cover. But yeah, this is the first. We're gonna have at least 4 more episodes or podcasts of the fall 2023 review season. We might have one more depending on how the schedule goes, depending on how the previews, sets up around then. And obviously, we do also have to do our end of the year awards show, as well as our winter preview show. So we have to kind of juggle all that. But we'll let you know how that goes. And if you do like what we do, we stream our live recording of the podcast every other Saturday, starting from 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time over on twitch.tv/4PlayerAnimecast. Again, that's with a number 4, where we talk about the latest and greatest in Japanese animation media, anime, manga, light novels, web novels, visual novels, and so much more. So you can check us out here for our content of highlights, clips, the sections, as well as on YouTube, 4PlayerAnimecast. So you can check us out on whichever format. If you want updates on when we're streaming, what we're doing, updates, information, we have our social media on Facebook, 4PlayerAnimecast, as well as on Twitter at 4PPAnimeCast or x.com, whatever, at 4PPAnimeCast. So you can check us out here, you can check us out there. And as always, we'll see you next time.